Welcome everybody to the 12th Eden Fractal meeting. We're just having some very interesting conversations with Chris and I and everybody, and Andrew's waking up early, having coffee, and also welcome Patrick. Hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Chris was saying. Yeah, it was tough for me starting to create content. Well, for a while, going back to the everything EOS days, was that Gall and Rob Finch. I was thinking about doing a podcast, but it's hard because that's a double commitment. You're committing to the success of EOS, but I feel like kind of where we're at nowadays, I kind of also shows where I feel more I don't know, I believe in it more now too, right? So that's why I'm willing to discover it openly, that we could be wrong. But I think things right now are really pointing in the direction that's not the case. But yeah, tying your identity big time is like a double commitment in that sense.
Yeah, so Larimer better not let us fail again.
Welcome, Chris. And yeah, I think
I love Chris. I love Chris. It's so true. It's so true. Let's do the things and
yeah, I agree.
Don't take the things too seriously, otherwise you will die in the second, I think.
That was a joke, kind of.
Yeah, that was a really good joke,
but not really.
80% of true, 20% of false. That's nice.
Welcome, Lenny. Great to see you. You're muted.
Managed to break myself free here. Garden work today, but so I can take some time.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lenny.
And taking time from your busy schedule.
Yeah, that's the respect. It's normal.
Yeah,
to be on time.
Just to provide context for anybody who's joining, I'm not sure if we did provide full context, but for the past 15 minutes before we started recording, we were talking about how using your name and attaching it to Fractally and so forth, and how Chris uses his name with Fractally, and so Fractally is one of the first things that comes up when you Google his name and so forth. So that was what we were talking about, and I don't know if we want to explore further, but it is interesting. And we were talking about how, for example, Matt Langston, he's a great engineer, works for Apple, and he basically he shared some great speeches during the Fractally meetings that he essentially tried to wipe himself from the internet for privacy reasons for the past decades, I think, but because he believes so much in Fractally, he came back and is now joining all the video calls and making posts and stuff like that. So I think that this process that we're doing with Fractally and Eden Fractal and stuff like that, it's super important, and so that's why I'm happy to promote it as much as possible, and also put my name and reputation behind it and so forth.
Well, I think we've gone to a point too where, yeah, we can now discover as a community the cryptocurrency, and right now that's EOS, and the projects we're all involved in, and but because of this transparency and this community effort, I mean, we can put it all out there, and I don't know, I think we're there. I think we're just so early in the stage of the blockchain. A lot of people just don't understand it, and now we have enough people to understand the basis of the technology to now I think especially this is why this process is so great as well, because now we have a community meeting every single week, and that's making us as a community stronger. And so, I mean, there's power in that voice, and yeah, the discovery of what is the cryptocurrency that really truly has the people in mind versus the initial stakeholders.
Yep. There's a lot of, well, I don't think it's just one, but yeah, there's a lot of development in EOS and also Eden and Eden Fractal and Fractally, that it's there's a lot of momentum, so it's easier to join in and go with it, because there's so much exciting things happening, and especially like fractals respect people's contributions so much and empower people so much. Also, welcome, Nicholas. Great to see you.
Hello, everyone.
It looks like you got some bees frozen in time in your background, Nicholas.
Yeah, I think it looks cool
Yeah.
because I don't have a bee here and I have a pineapple, so I figure like put a dozen of bees behind me. It's more clear like that.
You are the
Yes.
new queen.
Yeah, I'm basically replacing JC in those calls because like he's now busy doing other stuff, and he said to me, now you represent me, you need to make sure
As a
that
queen.
everyone knows that
No,
you
as
are
a
a
bee.
bee. No, I'm still a bee, but said, make sure everyone knows you're a bee. I was like, okay, and we're gonna put a background. So
Nice.
thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah, you're welcome, of course. I was speaking with Jesse last week, and I think that we'll have team functionality soon for the Eden Fractal. I'm not totally sure, but I think so. And so I mentioned that it would be cool for the ESBs to form a team if the bees can have like 4 people. I think is the minimum to form a team and then get respect for what the bees are doing.
He didn't talk to me about that yet, but I'm sure he will. So yeah, that would be cool.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Well, we got seven minutes till we break out.
Yep.
I don't know. I think we got a majority. Well, I don't know. I know some people are gonna probably trickle in too, but I don't know. I just want to kind of start with addressing last week. For those who saw the recording or were there, obviously that was not an ideal way to handle things. So again, I do apologize. Dan and I we met on Saturday and we hashed it out, and so that's how we got to move forward. We got to all get aligned, and a lot of lessons were learned. Biggest lesson is just got to really, I got to learn to control that emotion. I know that's one of my biggest weaknesses is sometimes like if I get stirred up and I lose it, then it's hard for me to like pull myself back. But I don't know. That's got to be worked on. But one of the things though too, one of the lessons I think for everyone, I think would be well to think about is like, if we do feel emotional, it is important. Like part of me, why I was like, okay, I need to go with my emotion is because it is good to let it be known, but obviously I need to do it in a better way. But I think if we do feel unhappy, we need to be able to, communicate that with the community, because ideally, if we want to grow as a community, we need to be willing to express ourselves and be honest and true with the community. Because if we're not happy, then what's going to keep you from waking up at 8 a.m. in the morning to come participate in these meetings if you don't feel like you're being valued? And so, everything happens for a reason, not an excuse for, the way my emotions came out. But so just kind of wanted to start it out that way. And then I'll let Chris announce what we worked on too. Kind of like, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, I guess maybe some of y'all have noticed that we're at the Eden Fractal meeting number 11, which was last week. You got a NFT late last night. That is a collaboration between me and Felix. We were just trying to, well, I mean, maybe some of y'all saw my post, I think maybe a week or two ago in the Eden Fractal Discord subgroup under the Eden Discord, got me creating an account strictly for making NFTs. And then I with collaborating with Felix, created a Eden Fractal collection. And then he had come up with the background that you see. And then, we collaborated on the artwork itself. They did the background, I added the text. And then I went in there and created the NFT, and then we backed each of them with one EOS. It's kind of unfortunate for those of you that use blocks.io. The image doesn't show up when you view the NFT just by the way that they display the NFTs, but it shows up on EOS Authority and on Atomic Hub. So yes, and I think that was more of like a participation NFT, and we're hoping with, coming up with consensus in these meetings and maybe other get-togethers, we can come up with, the community can help this. Now, these are just like, there's no utility for these NFTs yet, except maybe backing them with the rewards we may get, and in effect, staking your rewards to demonstrate your trust in the process instead of just taking the rewards and selling and running, but maybe have community input on the designs. Maybe every week we can vote on somebody and they can design some artwork, and then we can use that as the participation NFT, and then also vote on potential future utility of these NFTs other than just simply artwork. Maybe if you hold this NFT in your wallet, you can unlock some cool video or come to some metaverse event or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. But, well, I guess we can all discuss that in the future. And maybe I'll pass it off to Felix because I'm just rambling on now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah, we can talk more about it in the post meeting, but I see Jorge's got his hand raised.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. Good morning. Hello, Patrick. I wanted to report that we participated in the Genesis Fractal meeting, several of us, and many of us used the new UI, in which you have the images of your group mates and you drag and drop them according to your preferred ranking. And in this UI, the self-ranking trend, the self-ranking trend in some groups became almost unbearable. In my group, for example, 4 out of 5 people self-ranked in the top spot, and they didn't know, nobody wanted to give up. So until the very last minute, we didn't have consensus, even on the first spot, even on the very first high level. So I wanted to report that. And last meeting here, we pretty much agreed, Perry Shenas was here, that in order to avoid this discussion, we will do 1 month, 1 complete month without self-ranking, and then the next month with it, and then we took a decision. So according to that, from this meeting and the next 3, a total of 4 meetings, we would not be making any self-ranking in any room, if you guys agree. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jorge. So first off, we only have like a minute or so before breakout rooms. And then I also want to say thanks so much, Chris and Felix, for putting together the NFTs. I want to check those out and discuss that more. It seems like an awesome initiative. And then, yeah, Jorge, I don't remember discussing that about the month. Sorry if I misinterpreted you, but as far as I thought that maybe we could just, for this week, do it quickly, where we just vote like just yes or no to self-voting during the rooms and leave it up to people. And then we can perhaps figure out next week and so forth with the interim consensus process and so forth. Does that sound like a good way to do it?
That would be fine with me. I proposed that exactly that last week, but Perry gave a pretty good argument, which is that if we do that, we will have the same discussion every week, and we want to avoid that. So why not simply just choose to not do it for a month and then do it for a month and then decide, just as an experiment?
Changes like that need to be put forth for proposal change. The way it's done now is per room. I suppose if we have everyone here, we can do it each week. but if you're gonna make an extended change to the bylaws, they need to be proposed formally and then ratified.
Okay, then let's do it per room, and then we ratify or whatever.
Yeah, and I would just recommend when we do in the room, we just give a yes or no vote, or maybe even a hand up. So it's not like we're advocating getting the whole discussion. We're just quickly just yes or no, and that's it.
Right.
Sorry, Chris, but I want to back up for it is something to bring up in meetings, because I am for the option, against setting it on decision, but I'm for bringing up the option, maybe just as a standard question to bring up, or I'll let people know that.
Great.
Okay, cool. We're over time by a minute. Chris has his hands up. Would you like to share something rather quickly, Chris?
Yes, real quickly. I saw your post about the Eden Fractal Consensus Agreement or Interim Consensus Agreement. I went to that website, tried to vote. It didn't work, and I wasn't going to spend much time to do that. And I just want to say I do not agree with that. I would have voted no, and maybe I can elaborate later. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, we can ask Vlad why the consortium website wasn't working for you too, and then hopefully we'll be able to discuss that after. I think that could be one of the main topics for after our room. Also, welcome Perry and Tadas and Vlad. Great to see you all. And then Vlad, so today we only have we have 14 people, which is one of those weird numbers where we don't have a group of just groups of 5 or 6. So I suppose we should do 14 3 rooms where there's 2 groups of 5 and 1 group of 4. You think that's best? And then we'll put the Eden MSIG group if people don't join as the 5th ranking or the 6th ranking.
Yeah, I think that's the best option.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. That's what we'll do. Thank you. I'll start the breakout rooms now and hope that everybody has an awesome time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good evening. I don't know where everybody's at. Not sure.
Well, up here in space, you never really know if it's day or night.
Right. Yeah. Close to the sun and the moon.
Okay.
In space, no one can watch you stream.
That's true, except for the people who go to the edenfractal.com/videos or the YouTube channel. Other than that, no. Yeah.
Well, guys, I just want to announce that I haven't done a lot this week except sit in the sun and enjoy the pool, the
Nice.
beautiful weather in Costa Rica. But I decided to show up anyway. I'm here. I'm here.
Great, Perry.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us and being here, and hope that you enjoyed the pool and the sun. That sounds awesome. That sounds really nice.
It is wonderful. I forgot what the sun felt like. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, and I don't know if it's just Andrew's lighting, but it looks like he has some nice natural lighting too, with the sun on a window or something like that. Maybe no.
No, I can. This is what the outside looks like.
Okay, looks nice. It
Just
looks like you have a nice
barely.
space too.
It looks
Right.
like you have a golden icon behind you, Chris. A golden icon.
That's the no, that's very off center. That's a painting by or it's not an actual painting, it's a print of a painting. But it's really early and I can't remember the artist's name.
Jorge, can you remind me where you're from? I know you're
I'm Colombian.
Where's that?
Colombian.
From Colombia. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The place of the pleasure.
The place of pleasure.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so shall we proceed?
I think so.
Let's
Would anybody
go.
like to go first with sharing your contributions?
I had proposed a protocol for this, that the person who had the highest ranking from last week goes first, and then we go from there.
Okay.
So if anyone had 6th rank, which I think Dan did.
I did have a 6th rank, but if it's okay with everybody, if anybody else could go first, and that'd be appreciated. I'm trying to just get Marco back in another room right now because he got kicked out. So if maybe you or Andrew, Vlad, or Perry go first, that'd be helpful.
I'm happy to go first. No problem.
Okay,
No
thank
problem.
you.
Yeah. This last week, I made a bunch of UI. I'm continuing to try to improve the user interface and just make it better, make it smoother, make it more intuitive, make it the best that I can in preparation for the structural changes that I'm planning in the future, which will include event hosts and the plans that I outlined in my Pomelo proposal. So that's what I've been doing, smoothing it out, adding features, adding sources. So it's every week it's continuing to get larger and more varied, and also taking care of myself because I'm the developer, and that means sunshine, exercise, enjoyment of life. So that's my week. Thank you, gentlemen.
Awesome. Thank you, Perry.
Okay, on my left, well, okay, so Jorge is suggesting a different order. I don't know who would have been next. I took your spot, Dan. Jorge, do you know who would be next otherwise?
The person at the right.
That would be Chris for me.
Chris?
Sorry, Andrew. I apologize, Andrew.
Yeah, cool. So this is my first Eden Fractal meeting I've been joining. So should I just talk about the stuff that I've done for EOS? Do I get to talk about that?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been mostly I've been spending most of my time, and this is my employment, so it's I am getting paid for it, but not that much anyway. So I've been working on the documentation for the Leap 3.1 upgrade. So part of that is collecting all the information about upgrades, and this particular upgrade is I mean, there's the thing that I think everybody is aware of who's been following along, and that is that everybody needs to upgrade by the 21st. And that's an important consideration. Another important consideration, though, is that nodes that are running 2.1 need to start, depending on if they're keeping state history or if they are keeping blocks logs, they have to start resyncing or replaying the blockchain like now, because it takes weeks to do. So I've just been gathering information on how to do that faster, since there's some exchanges that are still either using the have updated to EOSIO 2.1, which means they're going to have to redo those blocks logs and the ship, the state history, or they are using deprecated history solutions, which is kind of on them because it's been deprecated since 1.2, which was, I think, released 4 years ago. So, really they should have updated by then, but whatever. And I've also been recording audio for Pomelo explainer videos, and I've been working on stuff for my own Pomelo pitch, but I don't think that's really relevant. And let's see, I did not rank last week because
I was not here. I think that's all of the questions. So yeah, I can pass it off. Are we going by someone's Zoom screen or?
Yes. The person who is at your right.
Let's see. Perry is to my right, so maybe I'll go to my left, which is Jorge.
Thank you.
Hmm.
So I am posting my little list of contributions on the chat. As you know, I have started the Spanish ƒractal meeting about 1 week and a half ago. Spanish is a language spoken by around 22, 21 countries with a total target population of around 500 million people. And we created the first Spanish ƒractal community. We had our first meeting, not last night, but the Tuesday before that one. I just posted the link of that meeting as item number 1 in my list. We have posted the consensus results and the video recording of that meeting on gofractally.com, as the second link shows. The second meeting of that Spanish-speaking ƒractal was held last night. We had about 9 people attending, and we had several technical problems. Otherwise, we would have had around 11 or 12 people attending. I participated in the Genesis ƒractal meeting on Saturday, in which I, for the first time, got the highest level of respect, level 8 on the second round, which was duplicated to our team on the Eden ƒractal, which is operating here on EOS. I think Dan also did that. And finally, I helped with Carlos, which I don't think is here, to create the Telegram channel and to document it. I mean, the Telegram channel for the Spanish-speaking ƒractal, and document it with the More Equal Animals book in Spanish, the white paper, and the white paper addendum in Spanish. And we are organizing, as of this moment, people to make a Spanish audiobook for all of those documents, audio versions for all of those documents, meaning the book and the white papers, and to organize a way to administer a task so that people can choose what tasks they can do in order to gain respect. It's a pretty challenging and noisy environment starting a ƒractal. So I'm wondering if that was the exact same case for the Genesis ƒractal. People is wondering, well, when people is not aware of the deep implications and the whole flaws of the democratic system, they begin to wonder, why are we doing this? And my fellow members on the ƒractal Spanish is exactly wondering, why are we doing everything we are doing? So it's been a new challenge to try to communicate this. And we have to face the decision whether to implement that new ƒractal on EOS or to do it on the new ƒractally blockchain that the ƒractally team is about to launch in a couple of months, maybe. So we are, well, I am personally doing I'm open to receiving feedback from you guys as to which one will be the best blockchain to implement this ƒractal. Thank you, and I'll give the next turn to Vlad.
Thank you. Last week, I've been working on CTF smart contracts. More specifically, I've been thinking which toolkit to use to build the contracts, to compile the contracts. So initially I used the toolkit that the ƒractal team is using right now, the CLSDK. But, and I did already changed the code a lot for it to be compatible. But then there's one part of the code that is simply impossible to compile with it. So now I switched on to Dune, and there are some issues with just getting it set up. So I think it's Mac specific. So in the GitHub, I created an issue, and yeah, now thinking what to do next, which toolkit to use. Yeah, that's what I've been focusing on. Dan,
Cool.
would you like?
Yes, sounds good. Thank you very much, Vlad, for all the great work. I also appreciate your cool like white and black visual look right now. It's very like minimal and cool looking. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all those updates. And then Jorge, I also want to say too, if you want any help or want to talk about starting the new ƒractal, I'd be happy to help. I've been there from the start of Genesis ƒractal and Eden ƒractal and Alien Worlds ƒractal. So I have a lot of experience with all the messiness that comes with that. And yeah, feel free to reach out if there's anything that you want help with or I'm able to help with. I'll share a quick presentation of things that I'm doing to help EOS and the Eden ƒractal. So this is just the website. And then also I haven't really made much updates to the website, although I've been working on just fixing some bugs because like it kind of broke a little bit. Now the colors are weird. So that is something that I was taking care of last night on both of these sites, just fixing the color for the background and so forth. But yeah, these are sites I've been working on over the past weeks, and these are tying into things that I'm building more, but I haven't done so much in the past week on these websites specifically. Last night I put out some tweets from the Eden ƒractal account for the week 10 and week 11 distribution. I'm also using the blue heart, which is like the blue cardioid, which is cool as well. I like it. And then this does take kind of a while. Like I shared in all these different groups and I promote it in a lot of different places. So here's a list of places where I promote it. It's kind of small right now, but I can zoom in. You can see right there a bunch of different Telegram and Discord chats. I also participated both as a guest and a co-host on the Building a Collaborative Culture EOS Swiss workshop. Patrick generously invited me to join and help out with several of the different interviews. So for one thing, I had an interview specifically about Eden ƒractal, and I talked about Eden ƒractal for over an hour, and we had a great conversation talking. There's also timestamps you can check out too that he put together. Patrick did an awesome job, so you can see all the different aspects of it and glance about it. But yeah, we had a great interview there. And then also we had an interview with Tadas, mostly about the beta white paper, which it's very interesting. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend checking it out. There's also timestamps here. And that's a way that that blockchains like EOS with plutocratic governance can use or benefit from Eden ƒractal and ƒractal communities and vice versa. A lot of interesting things there. And then I also did an interview with Alien Worlds ƒractal, which isn't specifically related to EOS, but I think it's related a lot to Eden ƒractal and the Eden ƒractal tooling that we're using. I think that Vlad and Dwayne have also been talking about maybe empowering the Alien Worlds ƒractal with that tooling too. So we had an interview there. That was a great thing. And also on edencreators.com/Alien Worlds ƒractal, I've been working on just a page that describes it as well. But I haven't done that specifically in the past week. Last week, I also recorded, uploaded, and hosted the Eden ƒractal meeting. And then a big project I'm working on that I'm not really ready to share most of the details yet is my pitch for funding developers and so forth has evolved greatly. And I'm planning on launching kind of a new social network for the Eden community in a way, or like a collaborative community website, and also a campaign to fund all kinds of Eden builders. So I'm really excited about that. This is a project I did, or writing that I mostly did last week, but I'm going to be making a blog post with all sorts of different ways to request funding from the ENF and a new funding mechanism for the Eden ƒractal, along with lots of blog posts and links I've been working on about how Eden ƒractal can help with IBC and about the Eden ƒractal tooling and how Eden ƒractal provides public goods. I shared those in past weeks, so I won't share them too much here. but that's something that I'm really excited to share in the next week or so. And then also this week I put out, just kind of put the finishing touches on the proposal for the interim consensus processes. And I shared that in the Discord chat, and people can see that here. Not much changed, but I just kind of just reworded it a little bit better. And then I also just responded to some questions from Xion in the New Legend and the Eden Fractal chat. These were relatively small, but I took some time to put care into it. Main project has really been this, just I've been working constantly on this new plan, which I'm really excited about. And then I also did, I hosted the hot sauce and talked about a bunch of great topics, and yeah, we have a good episode there. And then also every week I write the Everything EOS weekly report as well, and so that also I put a great deal of work into that. I'm also paid to do this as well, but this is something that I'm excited about and takes a lot of time, and it's very helpful for the EOS community, I think. And then I also participated in the Eden Chief Delegate meeting and talked a lot about Eden Fractal and Fractally and so forth there. And then I also helped promote Eden and EOS and Eden Fractal at the Genesis Fractal meeting this week as well. And I also helped raise some Genesis Fractal respect for the community. And then also I participated quite a lot in the Helios Rising Twitter space this week and talked about Fractally and Eden Fractal, and also just did some reading and so forth about like James' new article. But that's that. I'll wrap it up. You're muted, Jorge, I believe.
Yeah, I was asking if you're done.
Yes, I'm done. I was actually sorry. I just made a mistake. I realized that I put previously in the chat 19 minutes left when really there's 19 minutes left now. So I'll just update that. Sorry for my mistake.
Okay, guys. So if you are against anybody from self-ranking himself during any stage in this meeting, please raise your hand. Otherwise, don't raise them.
So we raise the hand if we would prefer not to self-rank.
Correct.
Yeah. That's my feeling.
What
Honestly,
are you doing, Andrew?
I could sort of go either way. It's so this is literally exactly 50%. Let's see. Yeah, I could really go either. I think there's a lot of merit to not having self-ranking. I guess I think in order to more accurately in order to more accurately see what the effect of self-rank is, I think it would be more helpful to have Jorge, as you were saying earlier, essentially just have the whole Eden Fractal group decide to do it versus having sort of just us deciding whether or not to do it.
The thing is that we just decided in the pre-meeting to within each room, each consensus by just raising hands and saying yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I agree, Andrew. I think it's good to set it up with the interim consensus process. I usually say that I think it's best that people can vote for themselves if they want to express that. But I'm happy to do it either way too. And it doesn't matter to me much either way. So I'd also be happy. I know Jorge would like to do it, so I'd be happy to do it how Jorge would like in this meeting. And also Andrew kind of expressed that too. But basically whatever works for me.
I'm definitely open to it.
Okay, then let's not sub-rank and let's proceed.
Okay, sounds good.
So Andrew, I have a question for you. Sorry, I missed several of your reports on contributions. Could you please summarize them a bit in 1 minute?
Yeah. Mostly working on articles. So that's what I do for EOS Nation. I do a lot of the technical articles. So if well, not all of them, but if you see ENF will publish some stuff, there's the let's see, the Leap 3.1 upgrade guide, and then the release notes, not the ones on GitHub, the one on the ENF blog. So I've just been sort of gathering all the information about that stuff, all the stuff that node operators need to do, all the stuff that smart contract developers need to be aware of. And then just sort of condensing that down into a single document so that everyone can reference it.
So you've been working mainly on technical writing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Great.
Also, in addition to, I mean, Andrew, in addition to the technical writing, you've also just provided a lot of help and guidance throughout both the Eden Fractal's existence and the Genesis Fractal's existence, and the whole community. And then also what you're doing with Polaris. You didn't really mention it here, but that's also a really cool EOS music app too that you've been building for a while. I really appreciate everybody's contributions. Of course, everybody in this group is doing amazing work. I'm kind of leaning towards advocating for Andrew to be level 6 because he hasn't been able to attend meetings previously, and he's doing awesome work. And I really appreciate Andrew being here and stuff like that. But I just want to throw that in there.
Okay. Before voting, I'd like to ask Vlad. He mentioned working on development on smart contracts, but I didn't catch what smart contract. Is this the project you have about an index contract with several tokens accumulated, or what?
Yeah, correct. The index.
Okay, that'll be running on EOS, right?
No, it's actually already running, but this now we are very close to launching the second phase, the next iteration.
Okay, do you have a website or
Yeah,
somewhere where we can take a look?
I will put it in the chat.
That's
Sounds
the
really
CETF
interesting.
project, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Vlad, the Dune releases, they're working pretty actively on. So if you opened up a GitHub issue for the problem you're experiencing with Dune, I mean, fingers crossed, but they've definitely been looking at those and addressing them. So
that's good.
Yeah.
To also partially answer Jorge's question too, so I've also been working pretty closely with Vlad and Lenar on helping out with CTF since last year. Of course, they're doing all the coding, but I've just been helping with doing a lot of writing and so forth. And so you can also see a link, edencreators.com/CTF, where you can learn more about CTF as well. It's still kind of an early draft stage, but it has some details about that, as well as some links to some writing and interview with Vlad from Helios from a couple months ago.
Okay, the UI, Vlad, from your side looks really neat.
Thank you.
Okay, whatever you guys want.
Okay.
I'd like to just briefly acknowledge what I've heard today. Everybody is obviously contributing significantly, but I think this week Jorge deserves a high spot, if not the highest spot. The creation of new fractals in and of itself is significant, but also new fractals in other languages other than English are also very significant. And that, for me, that represents a huge untapped market for fractals. And in the long run, I could see how they could benefit even this fractal. Well, what I see happening is that people in other languages becoming familiar with the process in their own language, and then feeling comfortable enough to join the English language because most people speak English. And so I think it's a huge, huge step, and I think we should acknowledge that this week by nominating Jorge for the top spot. So that's my Jorge pitch for the day. Go Colombia!
Thank you.
So Jorge, the Spanish fractal. So you met twice, and you're not actually practicing the fractally process yet. right? Or have you started using the Fractally process, or are you more so
Yeah.
talking about it with everybody?
Yeah, exactly. The ƒractal process. The only, well, I am demanding people not to self-rank. I just didn't mention the possibility of self-ranking. And we planned to do it in a more, in a much more simplified version of what the Genesis Fractal is doing currently. So we are not implementing teams because teams are presenting this emergent property of like an emergent second level of self-ranking, in which if you are not top spot, then you rank your teammates, because you know their respect is going to get duplicated towards you. So we are not implementing teams, and for the moment we are also not implementing second round. And but yeah, we are following the randomization and groups of size 5 and 6, pretty much the original Fractally process.
Right, and that's been so far. So I think the first meeting you had 7 people, and the second meeting you had 9 people. So you broke up into groups of like 4 and 5 and so forth. And then
in the first meeting, I abstained from participating in the room as a receiver of ranking, but as a moderator. So we only have one group of 6 people, and I was moderating. Yesterday in the second meeting, we had 2 rooms, one of 5 and one of 4 people.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really exciting, and I agree with what Perry was saying. Like, that's super helpful, spreading it to Spanish community. So thank you so much. I'd also offer like, this is partially to help EOS too. I know you did receive the level 8 respect for Genesis Fractal, so it's maybe a bit more in line with the Genesis Fractal mission, but also I'm super in line with the Genesis Fractal mission. But we also might want to consider you know, like say Andrew, Vlad, Perry, and myself, and also other stuff you're doing might be more specific to EOS, but also not to take away at all from the Spanish Genesis Fractal, because I'm all about that too. So, but just a note that we might want to consider here as members of the Eden Fractal community.
We just don't know yet over which blockchain to implement this Fractal. We are still operating manually, keeping record of earned respect on an Excel spreadsheet. We have to decide whether to go with Fractally or with EOS. And yeah.
The way I see that question is that it's even if because the plans for Fractally are to span multiple blockchains, I think the question is less which particular blockchain you're sitting on. It's really a question of whether you're contributing to Fractally. In my mind, that's what I'm seeing. So I'm here. Yeah, of course, I'm contributing to EOS, but I think the operative difference is Fractally. I mean, that's why that's what's happening here. We're doing Fractally. We're not really doing EOS. We're being rewarded by EOS, but it's Fractally that we're promoting. It seems like.
Well,
yeah.
Personally, I feel like essentially Fractally or EOS, if you're asking which blockchain it's going to be on, that's kind of not the right question, because the technology is not the important thing. The important thing is what are we pursuing? And so for the Eden Fractal, the point of Eden is to sort of benefit the EOS community. That's one of the sort of core principles of Eden. So that's one of the things that Eden's trying to pursue. So that's something that we should value in here. We could run this process on Fractally and still have it be about EOS. The main thing is, what are we trying to value, as opposed to, which specific blockchain is it running on? That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that Eden Fractal, I mean, this is kind of up for interpretation, but the way I've been thinking about it is Eden Fractal is aiming to help EOS, to help prove to the network how helpful this fractal process is and help benefit the network in that way. And then also helping to help Eden, which also is quite aligned with the Fractal and Genesis Fractal, of increasing independence and fractal governance and so forth. So both I think are very valuable in just helping practically and helping EOS in here. But I think it's good to keep both those in mind. One thing, I know we're running short on time, but Jorge, I want to ask you, does the Spanish fractal have like a stated mission? Is it basically to spread fractal governance in Hispanic speaking countries, or is there a different mission?
Well, the mission as it is written currently is to bring the best decentralized governance protocols to the Spanish speaking community. So as of this moment, the best decentralized governance protocols we have found is the fractal process, the fractal democracy process. So that's what we are bringing to the Spanish community.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thank you so much. I suppose we should get on to voting or submitting consensus and so forth. Everybody's ready. We only have like 6 or 7 minutes left.
Sure. And just in evaluating, just want to remind people I am getting paid for what I'm doing in terms of for the EOS network. So just you can take that into consideration.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Is everybody ready to do the level 6? Or are you doing it with a neato version? Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1,
go.
Go.
Okay, looks like Jorge has 3, and Jorge technically couldn't vote for himself, so I suppose that that should be Jorge at level 6, probably. Right, because he has 3 or 5, but he's not able to vote for himself, so technically he has 3 or 4.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Jorge, for the work, of course.
Yeah, we appreciate you and your contributions.
Level 5.
Okay.
You guys ready? 3,
2, 1, go.
Go.
Okay. It looks like I have 3 of 5, although it's a little bit different here. So I have 3 of 5, Andrew has 2 of 5. So I suppose there's not consensus. So I'm happy to go either way. I feel like I've been working like beyond full time for Eden Fractal. And like I would appreciate more respect, but also I think Andrew, like, is a first time meeting here, and so that's why I was advocating for Andrew. I mean, partially that's why I was advocating for Andrew. He's just, if you look at the amount of work that Andrew's done and the amount of respect he has total, just because he hasn't been able to meet meetings, like it's clearly underappreciated, because I don't think it's been appreciated at all. So that's why I was advocating for Andrew. So I would kind of suggest that people vote for Andrew instead of me, but I'm happy to go either way as well, because I appreciate the respect as well, though.
I'll defend the current consensus of you receiving the the top spot, Dan. And the reason is that every time you make your presentation and your background, I always have the feeling that you are presenting the same thing over and over, the same website. But this time I really put attention, and I noticed you did a lot of work, at least 3 interviews and participation in 2 fractal meetings, and you are moving all over the place. So, and besides, as Andrew just said, he's being paid for that. You're a volunteer. So I appreciate really much, Andrew, but I think we need to be fair with both volunteers and level of contributions. So I'll stick my vote with you. Done.
Okay, thank you, Jorge. I very much appreciate it. So we have like 3 minutes left. So do we have consensus on me? I'm not sure how this works. If we have the no self-voting,
We have 3 of 5.
Yeah.
You couldn't vote for yourself, so it's the same situation as mine. So we have consensus on you.
Okay.
And I think 3 of 5 is technically consensus, even though it's sort of not ideal. It's only 60%, but
yeah, but also Dan couldn't vote for himself, so it's pretty good consensus.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I guess I was also planning on voting for Andrew either way, but I suppose that we can run with that in the interest of time and so forth. If that's cool with you, Andrew.
Absolutely. I agree with that point.
Okay.
Level 4, whenever you guys are ready.
Who got the top? Who got the last spot? Was it
Dan.
Dan?
Dan.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Whenever you guys are ready.
3,
3,
2,
2, 1, go.
Okay. It looks like Andrew has consensus there. And then I think
Thank
we
you.
can move on to level.
Level 3.
Ready?
We are ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Level 2.
That looks like consensus.
We've got consensus.
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds good. I don't think we have everybody's EOS account name. And maybe everybody can post your EOS account name in the chat. I think I know most of your names, but I'm not sure what Andrew's is.
You're just done, right?
Yep, that's correct. And this is room number 2.
Are we submitting this on the on the little EOS UI?
Yes, the one that Vlad just shared in the chat.
Oh, hey, there we go.
Okay, I think I'll hit the close room button now, and that should give us 60 seconds
wait,
to
wait,
wrap it up.
Right, I'm writing the.
I'm not finding that link for some reason.
It's
It's
right at the
in
bottom
the
of the Zoom
Zoom
chat.
chat.
Oh, okay, it's the very bottom. Got it.
Okay, and then
Please
Jorge
let me know if
Immortal.
the-
That's your EOS account, yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote the consensus on the chat. Please let me know if it's all right.
Hey Dan, I've always been curious. Do you think Dan Larimer is jealous of your EOS account name?
I don't know. He's never mentioned it. He has Dan on Hive, and I imagine he'll probably have Dan on Practically. So, and he had a lot of opportunities. I didn't get this until like 6 months ago, so he had a lot of chances.
How much did you have to pay for that one?
It was like 70 EOS, which at the time was like $3 each or something.
I've got one that's been waiting to I've got a name bid that's been waiting to be fulfilled for months and months now.
I think I might have seen that. Is that like Polaris or?
Yeah.
Okay. You have a relatively low bid that you're hoping it goes down, I guess.
It's like 50 or something like that. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing too wild. It's it looks like that's sort of, you know, 4th or 5th on the list, but I think it only I think how it works is you have to not have a bid at all for 24 hours or something like that.
Yeah, that's how it works. I also got ƒractal, by the way. So if anybody wants to start fractals, then you can reach out, and you can also use that too. But yeah, great meeting everybody.
That's awesome.
Hello, everybody. I was speaking while I was muted. I hope that everybody had a great room. I'd be curious to hear any thoughts about the room or any impressions, stuff like that. But also a bunch of cool stuff we could talk about with like interim consensus process and other ideas. But yeah, does anybody have any thoughts you'd like to share?
I'm sort of gonna just listen. That's the.
Yeah, I know we got a lot of different topics we can talk about. I was thinking what I've been able to put like a little timer on. Like we don't have to stick to anything hard coded, right? But like ideally maybe we can like try to see if we can consolidate some of these topics into like, okay, now we talked about it for 15 minutes, just so we have a timer for this next hour. So we can get a little organized with knowing that we don't go too long on one topic. I'm happy to do that. I'll just put the timer on my screen and we can just watch it. Just as something to kind of check to see where we're at with time.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. I'll also encourage everybody to submit your consensus from your room into the tool, the front end app that I just shared in the Zoom chat that that Vlad built. Looks like several people already done that, so thank you very much.
Can I make a suggestion for Vlad to remind us if we put the @ sign at the beginning or not? I think I remember not. We don't.
No, just the account name.
Okay.
Vlad, have you looked into the new Fractally user interface much and how it might be able to connect to EOS? From what I can tell, it seems like it's pretty blockchain agnostic and it just kind of shoots out the names of the accounts. Although I also saw you wrote in the Discord chat that that could potentially make MSIGs easier as well.
Yeah, I checked the video and I'm really looking forward to see the code. But as James said, it should be pretty easy to integrate it with EOS. So
one other thing that I'd like to point out about the interface is that it appeared, based on what I saw in the interface, that it's totally possible to only rank one person. And if you only rank one person and everybody else is unranked, you can submit that as a consensus, which is exactly the Eden process.
Interesting. So you could use it for the Eden process, and you could also use it to stop people from reaching consensus with the Fractally process by doing that.
Yeah, true. I just thought it was interesting because that's one item I was curious about, is if the Fractally software could be leveraged to even just have an alternate user interface for the Eden elections, but definitely more of a sort of long-term goal, especially considering Fractally UI is still in like a beta format right now. But just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you very much for mentioning it. And yeah, I'm excited to use that tool. I think they haven't open sourced it yet, but they're planning on doing it in the next couple of weeks, I think. Is that correct?
I don't know timeline, but I know they are planning on open sourcing it. You're pretty blurry, by the way, Dan.
Yeah, thanks. I've been trying to just close and open my camera because it keeps unfocusing. But yeah, I see also Jorn and Lenny have their hands up too.
Yeah, in the previous Genesis Fractally meeting, so in my group there was a member in the Fractally team, and we tried out the UI. So it was slightly buggy, but then the voting, it's anonymous, I think. So if I rank someone higher, the others doesn't know it's me, and there's some emojis, so we know it's in the consensus. But we ran into a lot of bugs, but then I think I find it difficult to, like today we had a difficult time choosing whom to vote. So yeah, I think it helps, being anonymous, and also we are ranking real time, so we don't have to put in the chat and count. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience. For me, it didn't work at all, and for many people, it didn't work at all too. So there's a lot they're still fixing, but yeah, it seems like it will be super helpful.
Mike, you got your hand raised.
Oh, you're talking to Lenny, yeah. Mike starts Mike, but Lenny's main, that's what I react to. Yeah, just short technical question. Using Vlad's, we were in a room free, 4 people, so we got 2 empty slots, and we used, of course, Eden Fractal, I understand, but do we use it on only the slot 2 or all the way down, both of them? What is the correct way?
Just the second slot. Level
Okay,
2.
then I did the wrong way. I put it in both slots.
No, that's okay.
But you'll pick it up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a big deal because there's still a manual element right now where administrators who are on the MSIG need to, or actually they don't have to be on the MSIG, anybody can propose, I believe, but basically somebody has to just look at the on-chain table data and then just rewrite it in a different format and then submit it. So whoever does that will see that. And then also, I suppose, Vlad, didn't we have an issue last time where it didn't work with the Eden.ƒractal account because you couldn't send tokens to yourself? So whoever does that can change it to, I suppose, the Eden MSIG 111 account instead.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, cool.
All right. You know, I think, Dan, it would be good if you want to get us rolling. I saw your proposal with the consortium and then the interim process. I think that's definitely where we should be headed for next steps. And so I don't know if you want to discuss that and kind of kick us off with that conversation.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Felix. I'd be happy to. So I shared the proposal in the Discord chat, and I'll share it again in here in case anybody hasn't seen it. We've also spoken about it quite a bit over the past few weeks during these meetings, but I'll also provide a kind of an overview, I suppose, if that's helpful for anybody who's not totally sure. I know that Chris was also saying that he didn't like it, so I'd be interested to hear Chris's thoughts about that. I know Jorge also had some different thoughts, and he said he's going to write something maybe with a different idea, so I'd be interested to hear that. But basically the idea is just to use the same process that the Genesis Fractal is using for their interim consensus process. Of course, once the Eden Fractal has teams and has like 12 teams that are participating a lot, then we can use the governance process outlined in the Fractally white paper if we choose to, and that seems to be a great governance process. But for now, we don't have teams, we don't have 12 teams, so this interim consensus process can help us, it can help empower the community with a formal governance process for making community decisions, which would be, I think, helpful for a lot of things, and we can also use in a lot of creative ways. But basically, the proposal is that before each weekly meeting, any member who is ranked 5 or 6, I also just shared this in I shared it in the chat, but I shared it directly to Patrick. Sorry about that. I'll share it publicly. But yeah, basically it's and before each weekly meeting, anybody who's ranked 5 or 6 for at least 3 weeks can introduce a proposal by making a proposal with a yes or no poll on Consortium, which is a great voting app that Vlad has been building, and I've also been really excited about for a long time. And then after each meeting on these video calls, after breakout room, then people who get level 4, 5, or 6 in that week can approve or can vote to approve or reject that proposal. And then if 2/3 of those people approve it, then the proposal passes. And there's also another thing where they need to approve or reject it, or else they lose their respect, which is something that I suppose kind of following the lead of Fractally Genesis here, but that seems like a good way to do it. And then, yeah, you can find all the details about this here on this page. I think this is a big priority for Eden Fractal. It'll enable us to make decisions as a community about, like we've talked about a lot about self-voting or not self-voting. This can be a way to just decide as a community in like a legitimate and decentralized and democratic way. And then I also have some really exciting ideas about how we could use this process to operate a community managed website too, and do all sorts of other fun stuff too. So I'm excited to hear thoughts about this or answer questions and so forth. And I see Jorn has your hand up.
Yeah, it's regarding the consortium app. So is there a way we can limit who votes on a proposal? So if the rank 5 and 6 proposes something, and you're saying only those ranks can vote, but then in the Eden consortium, I can vote too. So is there any way to limit that? We should, right? And we can assume everyone should follow that verbally.
Vlad knows best, so I'd be interested to hear Vlad. From what I understand, currently the Eden consortium, I think only Eden members can vote. And
yeah,
so
only Eden members, but then it's not necessarily who is on the rank 5 and 6, right? So it's like anyone can vote, or no, I didn't get that.
Yeah, anybody
Everyone
can
can
vote,
vote. Yeah.
but
Okay.
only so the one who will check the results, he will look for the accounts that actually ranked number 5 and 6, and their votes will only count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be a bit of manual check there. And that also does bring up a question I hadn't thought about yet. So Vlad, is that currently on the Eden one where only Eden members can vote? So if somebody joined, I think everybody here is an Eden member for Eden on EOS, but if somebody joined who wasn't an Eden on EOS member, but they did achieve level 4, 5, or 6, then would they be able to vote on that interface?
Yeah, right now only Eden members, but I can easily disable that check.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe eventually we could
Yes.
do it where people with respect too,
Sorry.
but I don't know, it's not a big deal either way.
Jumping quick question. You can disable it one by one individuals, or is it the whole group at the same time?
No, just to remove the requirement to be Eden member.
As long as we don't get any trolls in and stuff anyway.
Yeah.
It might be helpful to form like an Eden ƒractal page on there in addition to Eden, because right now, like I see that tool being useful for Eden community using Eden on EOS with the official like induction process and so forth, and then maybe a separate one just for people who have earned Eden respect might be a good way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we can configure it in a way that only those who hold the Eden token can vote.
Okay, sounds
right.
good. Yeah, I think that'd probably be best, but yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts or anybody else's thoughts about that. And also Tadas has had his hands up for a little bit now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I accidentally mixed up the order in my submission to the app. So we reached consensus that Felix is first, then Patrick. I accidentally put Patrick in the level 6 when I meant Felix in the level 6. So I don't know. I posted what I intended to be the consensus in the chat. So if you, I don't know how we proceed with this.
Okay. I think what thanks for declaring that and letting everyone know that. So when I'll propose the MSIG in the order that that was consensus, and then I'll also just tag you for those who are wanting to verify everyone on the multi-sig in the Discord. So if they have any questions that, or you can like confirm basically on the Discord, so that when it gets posted in Discord, yeah, they can look to your comments.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that video, because that also provides an extra, I guess, layer of trust or whatever too. So that's helpful.
So Chris, did you want to provide your counter to, or I mean, I don't know, I guess, how do we want to go about this? I guess adopting this, right? We all have to kind of reach a consensus here, but maybe first, maybe if we're using Vlad's tool just to kind of play with it, this is a new tool with the consortium. I've never used it. I know it's been out for, I think, a year or so, but maybe that could be first good steps. And then maybe we can create a poll there, and then that's how we can decide if we want to adopt the interim process that way. I'm not sure, but just trying to throw some ideas. But yeah, I see Lenny, you got your hand raised. What's up?
Yeah, I've been using the consortium plenty as a part of VigaDAC and Viga Protocol, and similarly, we use it quite extensively. And I must say, it's great. It's really good. It takes a bit of getting into it, and similarly, there's a bit of a learning curve, but it's definitely a good tool, no doubt about it. So I can speak strongly for that. So Vlad done a good job there. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lenny. I also love the tool. And so it can be used as both a signaling tool where people can vote to just signal their intent. Although it's I think it's best as like a formal voting tool in some regards, because like we can do on-chain voting and so forth. So we can use it as signaling, and then also once we have like the process implemented, then we can use it where people who are ranked 4, 5, and 6 can officially vote on chain for passing proposals and so forth as well. Yeah, so does anybody have any disagreements with the proposal? Or any concerns?
There might be sorry, I'm jumping in again. There might be an issue if everyone have not checked it up consortium, and similarly, everyone should get a bit of a feeling for it. Or I don't know. It's just a view from my side.
Yeah,
Hey,
I encourage
could
everybody
you
to try it
put-
out if you haven't yet. Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say, could we post that in the general chat so everyone can have the access to that link?
yep, I'll post it now.
One thought I had just reading it. This says any member who has previously ranked 5 or 6 for at least 3 weeks. Presumably that means 3 weeks in a row you have either achieved level 5 or level 6.
I don't think it means 3 weeks in a row. It just means 3 weeks total.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
And I don't know if that's really like necessary. Like, so basically what I did for this was like pretty much copied and pasted what Dan Larimer wrote, and I made a couple modifications, like to use Eden Consortium, and rather than just ranking just people who are level 6 doing the vote, I made it 4, 5, and 6. Those are basically the 2 changes that I made, because we have a smaller community. So if there's only 2 or 3 rooms, then 4, 5, and 6 is more voters than just people who get level 6. And I feel like that's probably more fair and better process. And then Eden Consortium, I think it makes more sense to use Consortium than Hive for this. So that's why I changed there. Other than that, I kept it the same. I think the original intention with the Genesis ƒractal for ranked 5 or 6 was just so that they didn't get, I guess, like spammed, or that, you know, somebody who who joined one meeting and got a level 2 or 1 can't just like post a bunch of stuff and then hold the whole community back. The Genesis ƒractal is also probably at kind of more risk than that than we are, because it's bigger, and you know, Dan has a lot of people who want to just get involved and stuff like that. So some of these rules might be overly restrictive and not necessarily Eden ƒractal. But then again, also like Dan Larimer explained this at one point, like if anybody has a proposal, then they can ask somebody who's been ranked 5 or 6 to like officially approve it during the meeting. So that's an option, or we could change the rule too if people think it's better.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking about if we go too restrictive in the initial requirements for proposing it's like if we make it too difficult for us to change it, if whatever rules we set up are very difficult to achieve, even if we decide, oh, this is maybe not the right way of going forward, it will be difficult to achieve consensus on that. So I'm not necessarily saying that this particular design with ranked 5 or 6 for at least 3 weeks, if it were 3 weeks in a row, I would be worried, because there would be very few people who would qualify to be able to propose any sort of changes. But I think the way it is workable and would not be problematic in being able to achieve a new consensus. And that's kind of the main thing I would be worried about. But just sort of something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, those are good points. Thanks, Andrew. It might be good for us to look at how many people have actually been ranked 5 or 6 for at least 3 weeks, because I don't know, there might only be a few. So that might be something to broaden, and we definitely don't want to prevent each other from reaching consensus with this process to be able to upgrade. So yeah, great insights. Thank you. 4 people have their hands up. I don't know who is first, maybe Chris or Perry.
I can go.
Fuck's sakes, man. My hand was up first.
Oh, good God. Chris?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think
Go
Chris
ahead,
was up
Chris.
first. It goes in order, I
Does
believe.
it? Yeah,
I've always seen it in order.
I was just wondering that. Yeah, so Chris raised his hands first, then Perry, then Felix, then Marco. That makes it
Yeah,
simpler if that's how it works.
I don't need to speak that badly.
Okay. Yeah, it seemed like Chris wanted to speak first. So
No, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not that big a deal. I think some people have already brought up this point. I don't agree with just the levels 5 or 6 for 3 weeks making proposals. You know, I think anybody, regardless of rank, should be able to make a proposal. Yes, they could go to somebody ranked 5 or 6 who meet those requirements and pitch them the proposal, but then they're only pitching to that one person and they may not agree with it. I know this could cause problems if there's a lot of proposals, but maybe there's some other way we can change the requirements, but I think everybody should be able to propose stuff because I think everybody's valuable and could have good ideas. I mean, I think that's what a good leader is, somebody who listens to everybody regardless of their rank or position in the organization. You know, that's just all I gotta say.
Chris, can I go now?
No, Felix. Yes.
Okay, thank you. My initial response to this is it's the first time I've seen it. So it sounds like many of you here have seen it before, familiar with it. I think I heard that it's been around a year. So I haven't seen it. So I think I need to study it. My initial response is that if we're going to vote on something, I think it should be crystal clear what the scope of this intended tool is and the details of it. So I think I'm inferring by the conversation really quickly here that this is dealing with Eden on EOS, or is it dealing with this group, Eden Fractal? I'm not exactly clear which of those is occurring. And to be honest, I'm not really sure that we have our mission defined clearly here in this group. So I guess I'm not, and what is the actual technical scope of that? Not technical scope, but practical scope, I guess. Is it simply the to administer voting for the chains themselves, or is there something else beyond that? So I think we have to really put it down in writing. There should be a page that says this is what this tool is for. I think it's very easy for projects just in this decentralized world that is moving so quickly, and we're all just kind of meeting. So many things happen so quickly, and we all get snowballed. I think we would be serving ourselves well if we were a little bit more deliberate about what we're presenting the community at any one particular time. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Perry. Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on kind of what's been said. So I'm not too familiar with consortium either. My general idea is it's just a poll that gets posted on chain. So I think that this could be a good tool to use as a way to gauge community sentiment. And if we adopt this interim process where like I need to read it because we only did it like once on Fractally, but basically I do think we need to have a little bit of friction with who can propose it, right? Because if we allow that to, like, you need to be a high contributor to propose something that's gonna then we have to take time on to vote for. But I think we can use the consortium polls though to also express those ideas. So maybe if you're not as high of a contributor, there's two ways you can go about it. One, you can work to be a high contributor so that you can propose that, or you can make your, you can put some polls out there and then get a community sentiment. If a lot of people believe that, for then those who are able to propose it, like I said, people can go to those people that are able to propose whatever proposal, and then have that go through. The main thing that I think why we these are things that we need to start to discussing with like some interim process for reaching an agreement, is because once Fractally releases their open source, then there are going to be some things of like, okay, well, there may be things that we want to vote on, like, okay, well, do we want to change anything with the software? Then we need to have some type of vote for that, or proposing to adopt this into our new way. We would have to, like, that would have to be something that we as a community ideally want to formally vote on through some process. So I just think, yeah, I need to also dive into it. I saw Dan posted it last night. I briefly went through it, but it's, from what I was interpreting, is it's similar to what we did over on Fractally. Basically, we just did it 1 week to adopt, I think it was the mission, but then also the branding. But I agree though too with what Andrew was saying, that like it needs to be something though too, where if we adopt something, then it's something that like the next week we could be like, okay, this was bad, like let's adopt to like take it away. Something like that. I don't know. But yeah, those are just some thoughts, and I'll let Marco go.
I believe the week between proposal and ratification was not long enough, and we went with 2 weeks on the Genesis Fractal. To do it in the same day, I don't like that at all. I'm going to vote against that. If it's something important, it's something that we should be able to think along a week. I'm not against having 2 sets of proposal types, things that are lesser versus things that have long-term impact. And as far as anyone can propose, I'm kind of swayed. I believe everybody's voice should be heard. At the same time, it's not that hard to get 4 or 5 out of 3 weeks. Anyone giving an effort would make the case that they're really trying to get into that aspect to affect proposals. Maybe just an awareness for anybody that comes in, but for someone who's coming here for the first time and wants to start making proposals, even someone who's visited 2 or 3 times, that just may create a lot of noise.
Thanks, Marco. Good points, everybody. Jorge's up next, I think.
Yeah, thank you. I'm reading the proposal. So I want to say that I agree with Chris regarding the fact that anyone can make good proposals. It should not be limited to people who rank it 5 or 6, but not anyone should be able to come here and make any proposal of a system he doesn't really understand or completely knows about. So I'd like to change the first item to allow anyone can make a proposal subject to the condition that he has attended at least a certain percent of the meetings, let's say 20% or 30%. I don't want to limit it to a number specific of weeks. For example, it says 3 weeks, because it's different if you have ranked high in 3 weeks when the number of meetings, the total number of meetings is 30 or 100, then your percent of high contributions is still really low. So in summary, for the first point, I would like anyone to be able to make proposals under the condition that he has attended a certain minimum percent of meetings. Now, for the second point, I would like people to vote not because they ranked 5, 4, or 6 during the last meeting, but because they ranked 4, 5, or 6, at least within a percent of the whole number of meetings, let's say 30% or 20%. And that goes in line with a research paper, well, not a paper, but a research post that Matt Langston did regarding the relevance of attendance in the knowledge any person has about the whole ecosystem. Yeah, so those are the changes I'll do to the protocol. I know I promised to make post about this, but I certainly didn't have the time.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jorge. Yeah, I also mentioned that I'd be writing about it, and I have some notes about that that I'm happy to share at some point. So there's a lot to say because I kind of want to respond a little bit to everybody. So I suppose first, so I'll start with the last thing you said about the rank 4, 5, or 6 based upon, or like the ability to approve proposals based upon the total amount of times that people have, or total percentage of times that people have gotten level 4, 5, or 6. Also in past weeks, you mentioned maybe that could be just total attendance in meetings, or also amount of respect total. I think that there's a good reason why the Fractally team made it so that people who are level 4, 5, or 6 in that weekend, and we've also discussed this in the past weekend, and I've also been saving timestamps to try to collect all this discussion. So I'll share that at some point, but I think there's good reason to have it where just people who are ranked that week, it kind of gives the community more agility and flexibility, and it kind of protects the community from incumbency as well. Like new people can join and have voting power, and it's not just people who have been around for a long time who have voting power. But then again, there's also some merit to what you're saying too, and that's how the kind of white paper works it a bit more. But the white paper also has more protections where people can change team leaders and so forth. So I think that overall it's probably best to have more agility, and that also enables more flexibility. But we can talk more about that. Regarding anyone making a proposal, so right now, like anybody can make a proposal on consortium. So that might be some of there might be some confusion there. Like anybody can, like this proposal is saying that in order for it to be approved as an official proposal during Eden Fractal, then a person ranked who has 5 or 6 for several weeks needs to approve it. But anybody can make a proposal on consortium. It doesn't stop anybody from doing that. And then I suppose it can be where people don't have to reach out to people who are ranked 5 or 6 in advance. They could just submit the proposal, and then during the meeting, people who have been ranked 5 or 6 could say, okay, I approved that. I'm approving that this will be an official proposal. So it can be fairly seamless like that. And I think there is some room for some desire for like maybe some exclusivity or something like that. I'm not sure. Like we probably won't get overwhelmed by requests and so forth. And I suppose we could always change it and start with no and start with no protections, and we'd probably be fine. But another thing we could do is just make it so it's rank 4, 5, or 6 or something like that, or 3 or something. I don't think it makes a huge difference, and I think we can be flexible enough with the system to update as we go. Perry, regarding your point about like, well, I think one of your points is generally like how Eden Fractal doesn't have like a set mission, and I think that this can help with the set mission. Like one of the things I've been thinking about is, in addition to using this tool for figuring out processes like self-ranking or officially using this voting tool or whatever, like I'm working on a really exciting idea for like a community website where basically we could like vote on editorial decisions on the website. And one of those editorial decisions on this website or any other website could be like a community shared mission. And right now we don't really have like a way to express that as a community because we're all just people in a Zoom room. But once we have this interim process, then I think we can do that. So I think that's potential. Marco, I'm not sure if there was requirement for a 1 or 2 week wait time in the Genesis Fractal proposal. I just reread it and I didn't see it. I'd be interested to explore that, but I'm not sure if it does exist. So I'd be interested to hear, like, if they're not doing it, I'm not sure if it's necessary, but it is good also to give time. So I don't know. But yeah, I've been talking for a little bit, so I'll leave it at that. And I'm interested to hear thoughts about this.
Patrick, I believe you're next.
Jorge, you can go first. I will go after.
Just one note I'll throw in too is that I just turned down live transcription like 10 minutes ago. I've been meaning to do this at the beginning of meetings, but basically it works quite well where Zoom saves the transcription. So we can use that to organize our conversations and like our points and so forth, and also to help easily find timestamps. So I'll share that publicly, and maybe I'll put this in the document so we can kind of save and better organize all these conversations.
Yeah, I wanted to I want to respond to Dan's point. First, the way I perceived when the Genesis Fractal did this consensus agreement is they needed a quick way to do this, but it was just an interim process. It was just temporary. They weren't looking for optimality. They were looking for a fast solution. They also didn't have the data from the first 20 meetings, which Mark Langston published. So what I'm saying is that we can make a better decision and incorporating somehow the level of attendance, not necessarily the level of respect, but the level of attendance, because the data is saying very clearly that the level of attendance correlate highest with best decisions. So whatever decision the Genesis Fractal does is not always the absolute best. They are innovating on the fly, and they are moving really fast. They are not optimizing at every step of the process. We can. Thank you.
Looks like you're muted, Perry.
Yep. And thanks, Jorge, by the way.
Thank you. The relationship between adopting a tool like this and what Fractally is coming down the pipe with, has that been considered? So I think we have the same, I have the same issue with building on Eden on EOS at this moment, where we don't really know what Fractally is gonna bestow upon us, is going to give us. And so when we adopt a tool like this, we're basically committing ourselves to either foregoing what Genesis Fractally is creating, or wasting our own energy and time. So,
do you mind if I just jump in and ask you what tool you're referring to here, Barry?
The
about
consortium
consortium.
tool, the consortium tool that was just shared.
Okay, thank you.
So I haven't looked terribly deeply in it, but I tried to scan it as quickly as possible. And I don't know what Genesis Fractally has in mind to satisfy the same need that this tool is trying to satisfy. And so the question is, have we decided as a group that we're not going with what Genesis Fractally is producing? I haven't heard that decision. Maybe that's the first decision for the consortium, and maybe the last. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so some thoughts on that, Perry. So I think what Mike, sorry, Lenny, I don't know. I keep calling you Mike this morning. But he said consortium best used as a gauge on sentiment, community sentiment on proposal from any member, which that's kind of how I'm looking at it as well. Like basically anyone can post a poll on here, and then it's on chain, right? So then it's like, I mean, that adds a little bit more to it, but it's not necessarily anything that we have to adopt. I think maybe potentially the proposal here, though, with the interim consensus process is that then we would have more formal proposals that if we as a community agree, then that would be posted, like it would be done through here, and then maybe like through consortium, and then that would get that would be under a different rule set, I guess. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I'm interpreting it. And so my question, I guess, to Vlad would be like, would there be ways to kind of like segment basically all open community proposals just for gauging different conversations, different community sentiments, and then a separate one, which is like more official, like kind of set in stone rules of like what we choose to adopt, which is what I think Dan kind of also helped distinguish the difference between what we're getting confused on is one that is going to be more formal, one that's going to be what we as a fractal are adopting as like our rules, which ideally, like I said, I think that needs to have a little bit more friction, because we really don't want to be voting on a new rule every single week. and that's why I think it's good to have the 5 to 6, but that's why it's good to have, like, I guess, the consortium app partitioned between open proposals, open polls, just to get different conversations going. And then from there, then we can have a more formal process of like, okay, well, this week, like, we're going to, instead of using the React app to cast our votes, we're going to use the new Fractally. And then that's like a definitive yes or no, or something that is I keep putting the chat in the timer away, sorry. But yeah, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I think that'll be good for now. Dan, you want to go?
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Felix. Thanks everybody for the thoughts. So a bunch of stuff. So one, I kind of want to respond to Perry first. I feel like it's maybe most helpful to start with like the reasoning for why we're doing this. So Consortium is playing the same role as Hive in the Genesis fractal, but for the Eden fractal. So currently the Genesis fractal is using Hive to submit consensus and also to do this proposal process. Dan Larimer defines that in the interim consensus process that's linked in the proposal that I shared. And so we're doing essentially the same thing as the Genesis fractal, or at least in this proposal. It's proposing to do a very similar thing, but just using Consortium instead of Hive. And I think it's better for the EOS community to be using EOS tools and not have to make people make Hive accounts if people in the EOS community don't have EOS accounts. Consortium is also a cool tool, but yeah, it's basically doing the same thing, but it's just using Hive, Consortium instead of Hive. And then I think that we need this process to be able to update things. Like if we want to, like, eventually it seems like the best governance mechanism for the Eden fractal is the team system in the Fractally white paper. But if hypothetically we were to have teams now, we had 12 teams and that whole system was ready, then we would need a governance process to choose to move to that governance process and to adopt it to make it teams. And so this is an interim consensus process until we get to that point, and it can help us get to that point, and it provides a formal process for doing anything, like if we want to change our branding or change our time or whatever, like all sorts of different things. And then also I think it's necessary to formally upgrade to like what's defined in the white paper as well. So I hope that clarifies your thoughts or questions. I hope you understand in a different way, because I think that like we should use a lot of Fractally tools probably, but also it's helpful to build on EOS, and simple things like Consortium I think are great for us to use with this interim consensus process. Also, to Marco's point too previously, like there is a concern too, like you do want to have agility and flexibility in making short-term votes. Like if something big happens, you don't want to have to necessarily wait for 2 weeks to be able to pass something and change something. So I think that it might be better to enable it to do it faster. Chris also made an interesting comment in the chat. He was saying, Chris Barnes, he was saying what Eden did might be a good template to follow. Eden had a peace tree that was very basic as a foundational rule set. Maybe less is more here as these ideas are being discussed. So I agree, and it's good to look at. This also provides a way to like have it on chain, where I think that the Eden peace tree kind of lacks that, like a way to make decisions. And I think that's something that Eden fractal and Genesis fractal can help guide. I don't know, there's more to go into there, but I just wanted to say Chris's comments. I appreciate Chris sharing his thoughts, and I think there's a good point there. But I think that also the interim consensus process can do things that the peace tree is not currently able to do. And then just one note that I had that Felix inspired me to write too is I do think that like we have an opportunity to push this process more. So like currently the Genesis fractal has only done it for two meetings, I think, just like to implement it and then to change the logo. And then I think they did it because Nuno was late to submit consensus and that was reversed or something like that. I'm not totally sure, but I can imagine where we have every week several different proposals. Like obviously we don't want to jump into that right away, but like we're making lots of decisions, and like it's like a dynamic process. And like I feel like this process can be super helpful to enable communities to cooperate with like a decentralization way. So I'm interested in experimenting with that. I think it would be a really helpful, creative, and cooperative tool. But yeah, I'll pass it on to, I guess, Jorge is next.
Thank you, Dan. Well, several points. First of all, I can feel the need for this tool, which is pretty urgent. And I'm ready to support Dan's current consensus if we are willing to modify it eventually. Secondly, I just realized that the consensus changes that I proposed, in which instead of allowing people to make proposals just based on their rank, but also based on their level of attendance, at first sight seem to be pretty difficult to implement, because then you'll have to keep track of the percent of attendance each person has. But I wanted to let you guys that I'm right now currently implementing a Python tool for the Spanish-speaking Fractal that it does exactly this. It receives a text file with the rankings for each week for all the participants, and keeps track of different statistics, as for example, level of attendance, total respect accumulated. So it wouldn't be that hard to keep track of these numbers. What I wouldn't know how to do is how to put it on chain, or how to get this data from the data on chain, because my tool right now is receiving a text file with the data. But if we solve that problem, we can pretty much feedback and optimize our consensus mechanism pretty fast. I hope the tool will be ready within the next 2 weeks. That means not for the next meeting, but the meeting after that. So that could be a big win, I guess.
Cool. Thanks, Jorge. Sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Andrew?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on a couple things. One is the discussion of the Eden Peace Treaty and its relevance here. I think it's important to remember that this is the Eden Fractal, and so in my opinion, at the very least, we essentially should be following the Eden Peace Treaty, because even though people don't necessarily need to be members of Eden here in order to join, it's still, in order for us to be to have legitimacy within Eden, we sort of need to follow the rules that Eden has. So that's just a consideration. I think we should be following the Eden Peace Treaty, and we should consider that as sort of like the base level. And then we can come up with our own little Eden Fractal bylaws, and that can be its own thing. So that was just one thought. And as far as I'm still not entirely decided on if it's better to have. I think, to me, the best option so far seems to be having the consortium tool, excuse me, and allowing anybody to contribute to the consortium tool. But then I do think, upon further reflection, I do think there's merit in restricting the number of proposals that we actually have to take time to vote on, just because it would be very easy for things to get out of hand. Although it is easier to, well, maybe not. It might be easier to further restrict as opposed to further open up in terms of technically feasibility wise, but socially, I don't think that would make things harder, I think. So I don't know, kind of mixed bag. Anyway, the only other thing I wanted to mention is as far as waiting for the Fractally UI and stuff like that to be ready to go before we so avoiding implementing something on our own and just waiting to use Fractally's tools. I get the reasoning for that, in that we don't want to sort of duplicate work, but in my opinion, we should not be relying on someone else to build something for us. And I think we have the capabilities to do it ourselves. And if then we can incorporate other tools that other people have built, then I think that would be a great idea, and I'm not opposed to that. But I don't think that we should let that kind of thing hold us back. I don't think we should avoid doing stuff until we have a particular promised solution, because the only thing we can be sure about is what we have now. And yeah, that's it for my soapbox.
Okay, Andrew, I appreciate that, but I have to politely disagree with that. One of my lifelong hobbies has been martial arts, and in one of the things that I truly believe in is that timing beats speed and precision beats power. So there are moments where it's to your advantage to delay a strike or delay a kick because of the timing. And I think that in this particular case, the timing of when we begin to essentially attach ourselves and become dependent on any one technology and the creators of that technology, we have to be careful. And in my eyes, it will benefit our group, and also this applies equally to Eden on EOS, that we delay these decisions at this particular moment and try to see what Genesis Fractally is coming up with. Chris, you just mentioned that you don't want to be dependent on anybody. Well, we would be dependent on Vlad. And Vlad, by the way, what I've seen so far, it looks like excellent work, awesome work. So I'm not criticizing in any way on that basis. It looks great. But we have to judge that against the momentum that Genesis Fractally has and the probability that they will be there in years to come, and the idea that they may, I don't know, are they going to do this for free somehow? Vlad's going to probably want money. So my money, my bet, my move is to delay the strike, delay our move, and I think that's the best maneuver. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Marco, you're up next.
I thought I've seen Patrick with his hand up forever, and he looked like he started talking. Right? Hasn't Patrick's hand been up for a while?
Go ahead, Machine Sparrow.
All right. I don't know why Patrick reached out to me, so if you want to, you can still jump in. My thing is about the proposal, and I might as well touch it on speed. Pro agility, way pro agility. Aviation, it's a requirement. The concept of how things move on the ground, whether it be Navy or by land, is incomparable how it moves in the sky. We live in an aviation economy. If we want to get rid of all the airplanes, everything will change. Speed, agility, definitely. However, the proposal, the way it looks to me now, looks like if you have a bunch of pilots flying into an airport without the option to go around, that means you're forced to make a decision to land, right? So here's my, as an aviation guy, my solution. We institute any proposal for the week be submitted into Telegram, the members Telegram, a few hours before the next meeting. That gives people the ability to situate themselves, think about it before they join the meeting, before any emotions go into play. And within the matter of, it's an hour, even if it's an hour before the meeting, we're still changing something within 5 hours. Now, if we allow proposals to come out of discussion that come here and they get finalized at the end, well, that has historical consequences of kind of epic proportions. That said, I am so pro agility that you could get me to vote for that proposal, knowing that it'll go down in flames because I'm fine being a fireman and rising from the ash to the field. So do not use me as your security in this regard, because I will go for speed each time. My understanding, and I just touch upon the martial arts thing, big fan of it, and I believe more people should be into the fitness and chiro and stuff like that, is that the whole thing is designed to do in civil society, not to do mountain treks and things like that. So at the heart, it seems right, but not necessarily the thing with the most fortitude. So my proposal is merely give people an hour or 2 or 3 before the next meeting to propose something for finalization of that meeting.
Okay, cool. Good points. Thank you, Marco. Yeah, so yeah, I'm interested to read close with the Genesis Fractal and see how it works if they have an hour or 2. I mean, I could definitely see some advantages to that. Could make it a little bit more difficult, obviously, but it could be very helpful for people to have more time to think about it. So good points. Thank you for sharing. I'd also encourage anybody to write proposals, to write alternative proposals. So I just put this together, like I said, mostly using what the faculty team had written to give us a start and give us something that we can vote on and discuss. But if anybody wants to create an alternate proposal, I'm trying to write notes, but it's a little bit difficult to, you know, keep everybody's thoughts in mind and so forth. So if anybody's inspired to make a proposal, you can feel free to copy and paste what I wrote, or I suppose also probably I copy and paste what Dan Larimer wrote, and then just make, you know, small changes, add another rule to the proposal to wait 3 hours or whatever. I'd encourage everybody to do that so that we can look at the proposal side by side and then be able to have it visually and think about it. I think that'd probably be helpful if anybody wants to do that. A couple points that, oh, and then if you do, then you can just share it in the Discord chat and we can discuss it next meeting as well. But a couple points that I wanted to mention that I had mentioned before. One, there is also the 3rd rule of the interim consensus process that we haven't spoken about, but that is also kind of in balance with the other rules. So 3rd rule is that if 2/3 of the rank level 4, 5, or 6 fail to reach consensus within an hour to approve or reject, then the level 4, 5, or 6 individuals lose respect that they earned that week. So one, I'm not exactly sure how we would do that, like technically, because we're a bit more restrained in what we can do because we're operating on the blockchain with smart contracts, whereas the Genesis Fractal is not doing that. So I'm not sure if we can technically implement that. I wonder if Vlad has any thoughts about that, or if anybody else. But that's also something that's in balance too. Like if we make it so people can make a lot of proposals. I mean, it's easy for people who are level 4, 5, or 6 to just reject it, and then it can be reproposed the next week. So it's not a big deal either way. I don't think that that'll ever happen, but people can reject it. And but that's just something to consider that might be in the equation to balance. So if we change one thing, then it might change how another thing works. And it's good to consider the whole system as it was proposed originally. And I also want to respond to Perry as well. So couple things. So I don't totally understand your reticence about this. I think that's the right word, reticence or apprehension about this, Perry, because like one, this is what the Genesis Fractal is doing. Like the Genesis Fractal is also aiming to build all the governance on the Fractally blockchain. But for now, they're using another tool, which is Hive, to reach consensus until then. So that's what this is meant for. It's just to be an interim process. And I think that in the time before more software is available, which could be several or many months from now, it's helpful to have a governance process whereby we can make group decisions, including the decision to upgrade to another process on the Fractally blockchain or whatever. In addition, I also think that, like you talked about not being dependent upon anybody, like I think that I greatly trust and I greatly respect so much the Fractally team, but also we don't want to be too dependent on them either. And in general, I believe that this idea for fractal governance and fractal cooperation, it's so helpful for everybody that we shouldn't just be reliant upon one team to build it. And we should encourage and inspire the EOS network to build it and so forth, and build it on EOS.io as well as Fractally, because that's better for the world when we have more developers for this incredibly helpful technology, I think. Thank you, Marco, thumbs up. And then, but you do bring up a great point though, which I hadn't thought about, which is what happens if, you know, Vlad's website, if Vlad stopped paying the fees to host the website, or if Vlad, for whatever reason, didn't want to do it or whatever, that we don't want to be too dependent on consortium. I believe that consortium is playing a pretty simple role here, and we can do it in different ways if that ever happened. like, so a couple that I just thought of was one, if consortium ever didn't work out for some reason, then I think we could probably replicate a similar system just with memos on EOS, where people can write a memo and then they can write a memo sending like 0.0001 EOS and say like, I approve or something like that. So I feel like we could probably do something like that in a backup situation. We could also use Hive potentially in a backup situation, but that's what the Genesis Fractal does. And then there's also other applications like BPS on EOS, which can also maybe serve the same role. But it seems like consortium is best to go for now because it can do what Hive does basically, and Vlad built it and it's great. And then, but it's good to have backup plans too. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about that, Perry, and then I'd be just curious to hear everybody's thoughts. And I believe Andrew is next.
Yeah, I just was got thinking about something because of something that Marco said, which was about like when you're flying and you're trying to land, you know, you don't want to just, you know, some people assume, oh, you just want to get the plane on the ground, but if you're not, if your approach is wrong, if you're coming in too steep or too shallow, you don't want to just land. And in that case, what you do is you do a go around. You say, all right, we'll try this again. And you take off again. And then you fly around, do a little circle, and then you come and try and land again. So I think there's merit to potentially, if someone proposes something and we can't really reach consensus around it, we can just do go around, come back to it next week, kind of thing. And that's it's a different signal. Because Dan, you mentioned you know, you could reject it and then try again next week. I think it sends a different signal rejecting it versus saying, let's go around, let's come back to this. So I think there's some merit in that. On the other hand, that would also make it a lot less efficient potentially. So just something to think about. And I think there was something else I had to say, but I can't remember what it is. So I will call that the end of my soapbox.
The example I usually use is PIREPs, pilot incident reports. What you get are pilots experiencing weather that happens before it appears on radar at the terminal or at the navigator's screen. And when you can put a report in before the meeting, that allows for that type of direct communication before the clutter of meetings. The meetings is to reach consensus for the group, but for pilots or for individuals to communicate their direct experience, that's harder in the group. We have private messages, sure, but you know, that's usually the example I use.
My response to Dan is that I don't think that you're recognizing that we would be dependent on Vlad just as we would be dependent on Fractally, and that we have to compare those equally. So the way you presented it is it was as if it would be very negative to be dependent on Fractally, but we're independent if we depend on Vlad. I don't think that's a valid statement. I would much rather be dependent on a much larger group that has a higher likelihood of being around than a single person, even if that single person was me. And the second thing is that Patrick has been sending me private messages apologizing for what he's about to say. So I want to ask him to go ahead and fire away, Patrick. Go for it. What do you got to say, buddy?
I will let go Felix first, and Perry, the next time, don't say something that I have sent you in private, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we went through the first hour of our post discussion. I do want to kind of start to wrap this conversation up, but you know, that's just a suggestion. We can continue on if we want. I do want to hear what Patrick has to say because I've seen his hand go up and down and up and down. And so now I know you got something to say, Patrick. So I'll let you say that before I continue any other discussion. But the final thoughts on this whole voting consortium thing, like, I think it's good that we're having these discussions because, yeah, ideally we need to get something implemented, because one of the main things, like, I would like to propose, right, is like I can only guide things, like, and suggest things, but it would be nice if we can collectively adopt, for example, like this last hour, if we can break it up into like segments so that we can get more efficient. But then it's like, it's not like me just being like, hey guys, 15 minutes has passed, we got to move on to the next topic. It's like, no, we voted on that, right? If that's how we were to vote. Like, I just think we need to start to think about how we use this next hour more efficiently, so that we're hitting topics. We're not talking the whole time about one specific topic, though it's good. That's kind of how I'm thinking of like next steps. And that's why I think this whole consortium, also interim process, adopting it can be beneficial. But yeah, so I guess it looks like Dan's next in the line, so I'll pass it back over to him.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good points, Felix. I'll be relatively quick because I also want to hear what Patrick is going to say. But yeah, I agree that it's good to like maximize our time after these meetings. I do think that this is quite an important thing for us to talk about. So it's great. You know, we talked about it a little bit in the past, but it's great to hear everybody's perspectives about this. So I feel like it's been a fruitful conversation so far. And then I feel like this process can really help with our future organization as well, because then we can vote on, say, like if we want to spend the first 20 minutes on this, then we can vote on that and set a schedule and so forth, and use this interim consensus process to determine how we'll organize and host these meetings and so forth. A couple things I want to say real quick. One, to Andrew's point, I see what you're saying about the word reject, but I think we can also just say, like, I don't know, maybe we could use a different word for it, but I think that the community should be able to, because that rule is in there currently with the Rule 3, where people lose respect if they don't approve or reject it. And I don't think people should feel pressured at all to approve it, to just like approve it just for approving its sake. And people should feel free to reject it. Maybe we should call it a different word, say like pass on it for now, or abstain, maybe either approve or abstain. And then if people abstain, then it doesn't get voted on. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's just semantics. We can figure it out as we go, probably, with the smaller community. And then just want to respond to Perry too. So I don't. I mean, I'd be curious, and we don't have to keep on going this topic too, because I appreciate Felix's idea to, you know, we can open it for other discussions that we can discuss throughout the week and later. But I just wanted to respond to your thoughts. I would be interested to hear your thoughts about this at some point. But I don't think it does depend on, I mean, we don't want dependency on anybody. We want to increase independence in general, because then we're able to help each other more. And if consortium didn't work, then I'm pretty sure that we could pretty easily use like an EOS memo, which is just dependent on the EOS network as a whole. Or even if the EOS network didn't work, then we could use, you know, Wax or Telos or any other Antelope chain using the memo, or even a different blockchain. So I think we could probably do a memo. It's just that consortium makes it a lot easier. And it's also supporting a great contributor, ƒractal, as well. And then also Hive and BBS are two different options. So yeah, I think that it's not depending on Vlad, but it's a good thing to think about. And I appreciate you bringing it up. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I think I see a thumb, but I'm not sure if that's a thumb. It might be a different finger. But yeah, I'll pass it on to Patrick now.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, for all what you said, Felix, and everyone here. I have take all the argument into my pitch that I will do now, and I apologize for what I will say, because maybe you will disagree with me, but I don't care about, because I want to say exactly what I mean, and I will try to say that the most aligned and peaceful lion that I am. So for me, and that's my opinion, this hidden fractal is not just about voting. It's not just about to be in a consortium or sign a new proposal. For me, that's totally egal, this stuff. What I want to see really, and I say what I want because I have also contributed for this hidden fractal since the beginning. I am the most contributor into this hidden fractal. I have given 2,200 EOS for this hidden fractal, and I will continue to do so. And why I want to do, I want to give funds for this hidden fractal. It's not just for me, it's for all of the contributors that will continue, I hope, to come into this hidden fractal. And the voting part into our breakout room is a kindergarten joke, sorry. When I am into the breakout room, if I am leveled 1 or if I am leveled 6, for me personally, that doesn't matter at all. That's a big joke. The big experiment of this hidden fractal is not the voting part, it's the contributing part, adding value by contributing, making liquidity dance, liquidity velocity, and this is not just a joke. Liquidity dance is something very that is happening currently. The people have to collaborate between them by adding value. So if all of us, we are contributing by giving some EOS to hidden fractal or to other circles around EOS, we are doing something great for EOS and all the people involved into this experiment, because I am totally agreeing with Perry. Oh yeah, I am totally agreeing with Perry. Not to say that I am agreeing with Perry, and Perry, you can laugh about that. You seems to be very happy that I am agreeing with you, but that could be someone else that is stating the same as you. I will agree also, because we have to be loosely coupled circles. We have to be loosely coupled circles and not to be biased, influenced by other circles like ƒractal or hidden on EOS. Sorry, Dan. We are not to be only to be influenced by other circles. Hidden fractal, the name hidden fractal, we are just a fractal that want to let the people contributing between them and building a collaborative culture on EOS, around EOS, building a collaborative culture on EOS, around EOS and beyond, between those people. Because the people into this room today, into this main room, are beautiful people. We want all to contribute. We want all to do something great, a good experience, have a fun moment. Yes, a fun moment. That's the most important part. And to be aligned between us and contribute. So this voting part, I was in my room. I was with Marco. I was with Felix. I am happy with the level that I have reached. I am not upset at all. I could be leveled 1, that's okay. For me, that was just an experiment, this voting part. That's not the most important. The most important is to collaborate. So if I continue to come into the hidden fractal, I could not maybe come every week because I have also my other stuff to do. And for the Genesis fractal one, to answer to Jorge, that's the same. I was not coming into the Genesis fractal because I have also my private life. I have put my life also a little bit aside, and I have to care about my wife. I have to care about my lovely wife. That's the only thing that I have in my family. That's my wife. So my wife first, EOS after. I love EOS. I am here since 2018. I love hidden fractal, but I am not crazy. I want to take time for me. Otherwise, I will have a stroke. I will have maybe a stroke because I am working too much. I was working 60 hours, and you can laugh. I was working 60 hours to do this workshop 15 with co-hosting with Dancing Joy and interviewing beautiful people into this community, included Tadas that deserve a lot of respect for the albedo overlay blockchain protocol. But the people are not seeing that because they are not paying attention. So we have to pay attention to more people that are doing a great job. Jorge also, you are doing a great job. Everyone is doing a great job. But this voting, this voting process for me, that's a kindergarten. That's totally biased. And I don't pay attention to the voting part. For me, the fun part is to collaborate. So if the people are just coming here to receive EOS, hidden respect, and NFTs, sorry, we are not Disneyland. We are not Disneyland. We have to contribute between us and forget a little bit about the other circles. We have to do our stuff, growing our circle, and then maybe we will collaborate with other circles. But first, put value into this circle Eden Fractal. For me, the name Eden Fractal, that's just a word. That could be named contributors fractal or something like that, because that's the point of this fractal. We have to contribute. It's not just the voting part. And yeah, that's all what I have to say. And I am not upset. I am just putting my words, saying the truth here. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you for the great impassioned speech and great insights. Gotta love Patrick, as Jorge says. I agree. So yeah, and I also I'd encourage everybody to love and appreciate Patrick's work more. So I just shared Patrick's YouTube channel. He just released like the 24th or 25th EOSIR Swiss workshop, and there's a bunch of great interviews with it.
That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. I cut you. That's all what you say is wrong. That's the fifth. No, that's the 15th workshop in a row.
15. Okay, sorry, I was off by 10.
Can I speak?
Of course.
It's the 15th workshop in a row since 2020, April 2020. Every 2 months, I have never missed a workshop. I was in fever with this workshop. I have a fever. I was fast not able to publish yesterday at 15:30 UTC, all the videos. Suddenly something was coming into my family. I will not speak about that. And I was able to publish the videos, all the videos together with the Maurice Vanegas video, also the U5 video number 11. Every month I do the video with Maurice Vanegas. Pay attention to Maurice, because you will understand what does it mean liquidity dance. You will understand what does it mean how liquidity is created into existence, not through printing money, but through debt, not printing money. So pay attention to this video. They are very well done. And it's not the 24th workshop, that's the 15th workshop. But if I count all the workshops that I have made since 2018, included the meetups and all, maybe I have 20, something like that. But online, 15. So I am here just to do workshops, to do mind maps, and to be on Pomelo. The rest, this Eden Fractal, I am here because I want to sustain Dan, I want to sustain Felix. I am also a contributor into this fractal. I am also at the base layer of this fractal. So what I am seeing now is too much noise, too much voting, discussion. That's not the point. The point is to collaborate. So I am happy to see the proposal of Jorge the next week. I am happy to see all the proposal. My proposal, I will do no proposals. My proposal here is just what I say now. It's I want to see collaboration, building a collaborative culture on EOS. That's the title of my workshop. That was not just the title. That's what I really feel for EOS. It's building a collaborative culture. Take that for granted. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you once again, Patrick. I apologize for getting the number wrong. It just, you've done many, and then the number was fairly small, so I didn't see it, but I also just shared the link to where it clearly says 15th EOSIR Swiss workshop, and you can see everybody who joined is great contributors to EOS, including many people who participate in fractal meetings, Jesse and Matthias and Dwayne, and then also, like Patrick mentioned, we did a great interview with Das about the albedo protocol, which can, I think, greatly help Eden. So I definitely recommend everybody to listen to that if you haven't yet. And then I also did an interview with Patrick about Eden Fractal, where I think we talked about a lot of great stuff. So I encourage everybody to listen to that. Thank you so much, Patrick. And then also with Dwayne.
Thank you, but I am also a big bastard. I want to apologize here to some people that are into this main room. That will recognize what I say. I am a little bastard also sometimes, not committing what I said, and I have changing my mind at the last minute. So yeah, I don't feel me comfortable with that, because originally the workshop should be had another person, and at the last minute I have changed my mind, and yeah. So for this reason, I apologize also. Sometimes I am a big bastard. I recognize.
Well, you're a big lovable bastard, Patrick. You're a big lovable bastard. I
Thank you to be a pussy with me. Thank you.
I just want to remind everybody that you could find all of
on D News
stuff on dnews.zone. So if there's any question, you can go there. We have all the other meetings. The other thing I want to comment on is the level of passion that we're experiencing here from Patrick and in previous meetings, and the level of commitment, of dedication and I'm feeling it myself, and I'm not contributing nearly as much as Patrick or Felix or Dan in terms of hours. But yet I'm feeling huge stress by being in all these meetings in my life. Now maybe my life is relatively relaxed compared to others, but I can see that the thing that Dan Larimer has created, that we're all working on, is an amazing draw. It's a human draw. And what are we drawn to? What are we drawn to? We're being drawn to, I think, exactly what Patrick was just saying, which is we're being drawn by this collaboration, by this networking, by this sharing. I'm not here for the EOS. I appreciate it very much because I realize I appreciate it. But that's not why I'm here. That's not why I woke up at an hour much earlier than I normally wake up. I'm here because of all of you and what I'm learning from you and what I think I may be imparting to the community. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Yeah, great points. And I see the passion too. Hopefully these meetings won't stress you out so much in the future and we'll have a lot more. It's also been fun too, but yeah, it also has been fairly intense at points, but yeah, hopefully we'll reduce the stress levels. And also hope that Patrick, you also said that you were feeling like, I don't know, like tired or run down or something like that, or something, just working a lot. I don't know exactly how you put it, but I hope that everybody in this group can be as healthy as possible and, you know, prioritize health and so forth. But I love and appreciate the passion and enthusiasm. I have a couple of notes, but Felix has had his hands raised for a while, so I'll pass it to Felix now.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hop off here, and then once that timer hits 0, but so I don't really want to open up too much discussion. I was wanting to talk a little bit about NFTs and where like kind of Chris and I, what we were talking about yesterday, where some ideas that have come to mind. But I also don't want to like, yeah, just completely take off. So if you wanted to address a couple things of the notes that you took down, go for it.
Sure, sounds good. I didn't write very much, but it was just if Patrick is still here, I think he's listening now. I just had a couple of comments I thought were relevant and then I wanted to share. Okay, Andrew's doing a cool Zoom thing, which kind of distracts me. We're getting a close up of Andrew right now. So yeah, so I was going to mention the one thing about, like Patrick was saying, that the ranking and the voting process is like a joke in kindergarten. And then two things. One, I'm not sure if it was clear, but I just wanted to draw a separation or delineation between like the process of voting on consensus during the rooms and then this voting for community decisions. I think that Patrick was specifically talking about the voting in the rooms and finding consensus, not the actual interim consensus process that we're talking about. And I think that interim consensus process is very helpful independently of voting in the rooms. And then I think that this process of voting in rooms is like profoundly helpful as well, reaching consensus, but we just need to learn how to cooperate better as a community, and then like to help lead an example for all communities to do this. Because I think Patrick and I talked about this a lot during our interview recently about how like there's kind of two different types of respect. Like there's the ephemeral respect that we all feel, that we've all had since the beginning of humanity. But then there's also like this new on-chain form of respect, which has all these great ways of manipulating and making it, doing anything that you want with it on a blockchain and having it trustless and so forth. So I think it is really helpful that we have this on-chain respect in addition, because it brings a lot of benefits. And this whole process is amazing. So I wouldn't call it a joke or kindergarten, although that is kind of a funny way to put it. So I'm up for having fun with it. But I do appreciate what Patrick is saying very much, that like we shouldn't get too caught up in the respect on chain, because really the most important thing is that we're respecting each other in that personal way, and that we're enjoying it, and that we're getting things out of it like that benefit our lives and that help each other, and that we're growing relationships and building cool stuff together and so forth. So I think it's a cool tool, the respect and the on-chain stuff, to get there. But we have to remember, like, the main focus is that we're helping each other as a community and feeling good about it and so forth. So yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. And thanks everybody for everything so much.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna say last thoughts too, and then I'll let Andrew go. So yeah, addressing the passion. It's good that we've got several, like we're all here and we're all passionate, because that means that this has something to it. It's drawing us. We're drawn here for a reason, and you know, I'm just excited to continue to work with you guys, and you know, I think we're on to something, and you know, we'll see. I feel like maybe this built up stress is, I don't know, sometimes this gets a little speculative, but right, like I just feel like something's coming, and if things go well, like what we potentially have here, we can become enormous leaders. And so with that is going to be some stress, but the fact that we're growing together and getting really closer and being able to communicate better with one another is super important, because you know, if you know, I mean, EOS is moving, man. Not yet, but like it feels like it. And if it is, like if it really goes, like, yeah, I mean, money changes people too. So it's good that, you know, where we've developed these relationships before, so to speak, a huge success. Ideally, you know, again, a little speculative, but it's just a feeling I have. And potentially that's why we also are all getting these feelings and signs of stress, but you know, time will tell. Quick note that I just wanted to kind of throw out there with my ideas with the NFTs. Something that's interesting that kind of came about yesterday was like, partly, so, you know, thanks to Patrick and for, you know, the amount of funding that you've allowed for the Eden Fractal has given us plenty of you know, with 100 a month, plenty of leeway to continue moving forward, to where like I got my funds for the Eden from Eden as a delegate, and I was planning on pooling them as well in the 100 EOS, but I'm starting to really think about maybe playing with the NFT side and backing them with NFTs. And there's some ideas here too that potentially we can also, you know, kind of experiment with. But if we lock up the EOS tokens that that we are getting in these meetings into these NFTs, what this does is it's locking up our TVL in Eden is going up. And then this also potentially opens the potential, I keep saying that, but like for DeFi, right? Like who knows how we can incorporate that with the trust, or I forgot what it was called, but the yield plus incentives. But I guess intuitively, the way I see the importance of locking it up is locking up EOS tokens, especially within this Eden community, is it's a way to show like, hey, we are Eden members. What does that mean? That means that we believe in EOS in the long haul, for Eden on EOS, right? We believe in EOS in the long haul, and we're proving it by locking up our tokens. It's locked up. If people start to, you know, burn their NFTs, now it's a little harder to track individually. Like, are they selling it off? Like, I don't know, that there's something there. I like that idea. And that's just kind of some of the things that I was hoping to kind of put out there, and, you know, we can discuss further as we go. But yeah, I'm super excited with the NFT front. And that's how I think I'm going to be using my delegate funding. But also, that's also another thing though too, is these NFTs, everyone can create an NFT, and the more the better, I think. But also, if we purpose some NFTs though too, for TVL purposes, I think is something that's really interesting, because then it just shows like, hey, this is the value that's starting to lock up in this community, and then that can be used for liquidity pools in the future, or I don't know. It's just some ideas that are coming to mind that I just wanted to share. But yeah, thank you guys. And if I don't have a chance to say anything before I hop off, I appreciate every one of you guys, and yeah, looking forward to next meeting, and you know, our interactions throughout the week. So
thank you, Felix.
Thanks,
you
Felix.
are a
Yeah,
good
likewise.
lion. A good lion. Thank you. And thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone. And go ahead, Andrew. Sorry to go ahead. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, I'm just kind of piggybacking on something you said earlier, and that is so if we're really trying to focus on collaboration, I think we could make much better use of this this post fractal meeting. I think if we use this time to outline priorities and points of collaboration, it might be able to enable more collaboration between all of us. But in addition, I think it would allow us to get more done and actually be able to outline what it is that our priorities are, apart from just ensuring the functioning of sort of this thing that we're doing here. I think we can totally have a larger impact, and we've already been having a larger impact, but I think we can even amplify that more by taking advantage of collaboration and taking advantage of this sort of post rank meeting, because that's probably the time when people are going to be most motivated to actually engage with other people and start to work on collaboration, so that they can get a better one for next week, better ranking for next week. But yeah, that's all. And also I might have to jump off soon here because I've got a meeting coming up, but I'm very, very happy to be here and working with everyone. And it's very cool. I wish I had woken up earlier and more past Wednesdays.
You know what? That's the time for a yeah baby and go eat and fractal. So for all the people that are here before you leave, be with me. 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah, baby.
Go eat and fractal.
Go eat
Eden
fractal. Yeah,
Go
baby.
All right, guys. I love you guys all. I'll catch you guys next week.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Well, thanks, Patrick, but thanks, Felix. Looking forward to it. And then, yeah, Andrew, thanks for waking up early and joining. I understand that it's super early for you, and totally understand that you couldn't make it. I hope that you'll be able to make it early next time and in future meetings, because it's great seeing you here, and I'm glad that you've enjoyed the meeting and gained a lot from it. But yeah, much appreciated. And then, yeah, you also make great points about using this time to better collaborate as well. That I think we're great too. I'm looking forward to exploring that more. But yeah, I also just want to say thanks, Andrew. It's great seeing you. It's great working with you. And so really appreciate you waking up early and being here with us and sharing all your thoughts.
Yeah,
And
I have a
best
recurring
beard,
alarm now at
the
5.
best bird, beard,
Okay,
the best beard into the galaxy.
This is true. This is a fact.
This is a fact. Yeah.
Although Dan Larimer is trying to compete, I think, and also it looks like Perry is maybe working on something. Chris also got something going on for a long time too. Anyway,
What am I working on?
well, he was talking about best beards in the galaxy. So you have a little bit of a. It's not really a beard, but it's something that could potentially be a beard.
I too. I
Yeah.
will go in beard mode. In 3 weeks, you will see a big bird. A big beard, sorry.
That beard's really going to take off.
But you know what? For the people watching this video, like a little promotion here for the good, attend the Eden Fractal meeting on every Wednesday, 13 UTC, with Dancing Joy, Felix Ruiz, Chris Barnes, Andrew Ware, Lenny Nit, Perry of dnews.zone, his family name. So go into this Eden Fractal because it's essential. It's building a collaborative culture on EOS, okay? Because EOS is the first blockchain that has in it the fractal paradigm, and the people will looking that later on, connecting the dots backward, and they will understand that all is fractal. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. I agree. I completely agree. For everybody who's watching, come join the Fractal meeting and share your thoughts, try it out, earn respect, and then share with friends and so forth. I think especially once we get like a couple of things in place, like the Eden Fractal Contributor Agreement and this interim consensus process and a couple other things, I think that like Eden Fractal will grow a lot and people will really enjoy it. I mean, people are already enjoying it. It's great with this group we have. But yeah, I agree. And I encourage everybody to join. And Patrick said it very well.
Yeah, and paper means nothing. Collaboration matters. So you can have all the papers that you want, all the contracts that you want. If there is no collaboration between the people, all this technology doesn't mean nothing. Don't that I am diminishing the technology, but at the end of the day, what does matter? It's people collaborating between them and adding value to EOS. By adding value through collaboration, okay, that's my apology, and that's why I am here. Yeah, sorry. And
can we get apology per meeting, Patrick?
What was that, Barry?
Yeah,
can we expect one apology from Patrick every meeting?
I would say maybe one speech.
You can be
from
sure
Patrick.
that every time that I will join, it's because I want to give respect. So today I have joined Wednesday into my afternoon in Switzerland during my work and experiencing some bad things on my private side. And I was coming here. Why? Because I pay a lot of attention to this Eden Fractal. For me, it's just not, it's more than just an experiment. It's what I love. And when you love what you do and you know also why you do, you are more in alignment. Because if you know only, yes, I love what I do, but you cannot answer to the why, you will never be happy. So if you are able to answer to the question why you love to do the things, you are in alignment. So that's why I was coming today to give you some respect, not with the money, not with some EOS, but with heart, soul, and mind. Okay, so be sure that I will come when I can, and when I come, I will celebrate that because I love you guys. Okay, so on that note, I will give the mic to my fellow Lenny. How are you today? Not too bad, not too bad. I give you the mic.
And I pronounce we should be ending soon. I've been missing out on some stars here, but anyway, thanks, Patrick.
Oh. You know what? The Muppet show, the Muppets with the Muppets, with the two old guys. Not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah. I speak better Swedish, but not very good fluent.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, Marco, the return of the machine.
Hey guys, it looks like we may be having a new Genesis team via BitShares. We're getting close to it. We have 4 candidates, and I believe 2 confirmed that have just joined. Yeah, come. It's not as early. It's on Tuesday. It's like 11. And you know, Dan has mentioned BitShares, so
thank you, Andrew.
Come over.
Go to the moon.
You're referring to the new BitShares Fractally, right?
Yeah, as Dan mentioned, it's sort of a pre-fractal, but we have been holding scheduled meetings, and we're about to form an official team on the Genesis. So you're encouraged to come, and essentially it's got interest, but the BitShares people, I don't know, maybe they're like little rabbits and they don't want to jump in or something. So we want to support it, encourage them to come in because there is some strong motivation to develop NFTs. And one of the first NFTs would be fractally via BitShares. But I only mention it now because it looks like we have an official team, maybe even by this Saturday.
And you know what? Seems to be there is an Eden Fractal also. So we have to join every Wednesday at 13 UTC and be more collaborative.
That's what I do.
Forget the vote.
I do that at every meeting. I tell everybody go around and join all the meetings.
Yeah, Marco, I know that you will be on every meeting to just
team though, because I'm already part of the team. So that's kind of been the thing. We've been looking to get people who aren't part of teams already to join it.
Respect to all the fractals for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
much
baby.
appreciated. Thanks, Marco, for sharing the update. Also, Pascal and Thomas Ryan have both participated in some of these Eden Fractal meetings. So they've also been helping to lead that initiative as far as I understand. And I'm really excited about what's going on there. I appreciate the update. And also, Marco, just all your reporting and sharing and participation in all these different Fractal meetings. Very much appreciated. I suppose also
And
we
Marco
could,
was in my room,
and then
all the respect.
Cool, sounds
That's
good.
2 weeks.
Yes. And
Yeah,
then, yeah,
2 weeks in a row. That means a lot. The sortition works well on Eden Fractal. 2 weeks in a row, and I am in the same room with Marco.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, it's a small world, especially in our community so far. But yeah, and then Patrick, I also appreciate your promotion for Eden Fractal once again. I suppose maybe, as Lenny was saying, I think also maybe somebody else mentioned,
Which
we haven't gone on
promotion?
for a while. Oh, what we just repeated, like you slid it in a very smooth way, saying, and it seems that we also have an Eden Fractal meeting every Wednesday too that everybody should join. So that was pretty cool.
Yes, no, that's good.
Yeah, Marco agree. So that's
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely, of course.
And Perry also.
What
And
am
Lenny
I
is-
agreeing to? I don't have a BitShares. I don't have a BitShares account, so I'd have to do that first.
Yeah, I think that's
Oh,
a
you have
little
an excuse
challenging,
now.
but
You
we
cannot
don't need
join.
nothing.
At least on EOS, we have
But I-
all an
but I
account on
think-
EOS. We
But I
can-
think
we
it's
can-
beneficial. I think it's beneficial that that the fractals join, or that there are many of them. So I think that's a positive thing that there are.
Bien sûr. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
we should encourage that.
All that is an excuse to more collaboration, a pretext to more collaboration between the people.
Well, for people who want a quick summary of what's happened past 5 weeks,
Quick, very quick.
Alien Worlds is looking to expand its fractal influence as the DAO comes out. We don't know when it's coming. Alien Worlds and BitShares have been working together. It may be hard to get a BitShares account, so I'm willing to help out with that. Pay to get your thing. I know it was a challenge when I signed up way back in the day, but Alien Worlds, if the DAO, which they're set on taking their lands and having a whole DAO thing set up, it's gonna be huge. And they got 15,000 people on the telly, and I think 4,000 active players. So it's just a matter of getting the landowners to get the DAO, because I don't think they want to start the practice without it. As much as Dwayne pushes, I don't know, but that seems like the limiting factor for them. And then BitShares, I think, is just a timid thing, but they're starting to work together. And that's outside of this one, which is the second popular one, and the Genesis. We forget about them, but they already started collaborating.
We not forget about them. Watch the video co-hosted with Dancing Joy about Alien World, Fractal, Duen Philippi, all the work that he is doing. We are also attending to the WTFE, that's mean World Talent Economic, something like that. We were on to several podcast show with Dr. Sharif, very well made. So watch the video, Dancing Joy. Duen Philippi about Alien World Fractal. Watch the video of Tadas, Albedo, Overlay, Blockchain Protocol. Watch the video of Zyzen, Red Out there Pool for all the coming events for EOS. Watch all this video, 8 video, 50 hours of work, plus the video of Maurice Vanegas, the only one of the UFI movement, UFI 11 in a row. So watch this video. Total engagement on Twitter, retweet, like, retweet. It's for all of us. We have to collaborate between us, make a good marketing, going with EOSB's Swarms by Jesse Jaffe, the marketing 2.0. We have to do swarms. That's very important. Twitter is important for EOS. And because if we are not promoting what we are doing here into this room, that's for, sorry to say, I will be harsh, it's for nothing. Because we are just passionate people between us. And yeah, Disneyland, we are very happy between us, but we have to go outside of our box, reach out of the box, but pay careful, and be the stuff for our circle. Then we will have a good value, we can connect, and we will not wait too much. We are entrepreneurial guys, we are lions, we are not chips. We follow no one. We do what we have to do because we think it's good. And we are here to do the good. Okay, so.
Wait. Patrick ran out of gas? What? Huh?
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for me. I love you.
That's all for me also. And see you in 1 month.
Oh, you're leaving for 1 month?
I make no promise. Maybe I will be there next week, maybe not. If my wife is upset with me, maybe I will not be into the Genesis Fractal on the Saturday because that's come at 15:30 UTC, and in Switzerland is already fast 6 p.m. into the night on the Saturday, and I was fast on every Saturday. So I have lost now 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't remember, and I will come back when I want to come. It's better to come when you are happy to come. Don't come if you are not happy.
That's correct. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, guys. Hasta luego. See you.
Sounds
Hasta
good.
la vista,
Thanks, Barry.
baby.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, thanks, everybody, for the great meeting, and looking forward to next time.
Thank you, Dan. The only one dog in the galaxy. Thank you.
There are other dogs as well.
And Machine Bird, you are a big machine. Thank you.
Big what?
No, sorry. A big
Big
bird.
what?
Sorry.
Little birds. I'm from the city. You're a tiny little bird. All the big birds got eaten.
No. You are beautiful. Okay.
By the way, I used to work in a library.
By the way, I am joking.
I'm a real part of the Lions Club.
And I have to shave. Seems to be that my beard is growing. Not my bird, for sure. Okay, so. Okay.
All right. I think on that note, it's probably good to.
On that note, a little bit strange. I admit. Okay. So Marco, great work with briefings and by wire and all the articles that you are doing since a long while. Thank you for that.
Oh, sure. And I look at the
Vlad, a genius developer. Thank you very much for the hidden fractal
Vlad's a superstar.
Interface UI. I love. And that's enjoyed as a clone. He has a brother into this room now.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, and yeah, thank you, Dan. Thank you for all. And Felix, he's not here, but thank you very much also. We are a good team. We are a good team.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much, Patrick and Marco. And also, I don't know if Vlad's still here, but yeah, everybody's doing awesome work. So I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to working with you all on a bunch of awesome stuff in the future.
Okay, and I will finish on something always fun. I have no crystal ball. I don't know when I will see you again, but for sure, we will see us again because we have a lot of more to share. So now at 3, 2, 1, 0, we say, go hidden fractal.
I prefer the jet engine of an
2,
airplane. That's
1,
definitely
0.
Go fractal.
Go hidden fractal.
Go hidden fractal, and also go fractally.
Yeah, now we do fractally. At 3, 2, 1, 0, we say go fractally. 3.
I can say both words at the same
1,
time.
0. And shut your mouth, Marco, please. 3, 2, 1, 0. Go fractally.
Go fractally.
And the last one, and the better one for
the
me.
last one is mine, which my favorite thing. I'll always be the airplane with the loud engine going by. Fly off.
Go
We got to get out of the chair somehow.
The last one, go EOS, because he has the fractal paradigm in it since the beginning, and the people will looking backward and understand. So now, go EOS with your lion mentality. Good lion mentality, not aggressive. Good lion mentality, okay? So 3, 2, 1, 0.
Go EOS. And also go, Marco, flying a plane.
Yeah, go Top Gun. Go.
No, I like the speed guys. I like Jaeger. No,
Mac,
yeah, I like the speed
Mac
guys.
Bird Sparrow.
But
At
yeah,
3210, say go Mac Bird
no,
Sparrow.
no. We're not doing stars here.
Okay, I
3,
do.
2, 1.
3,
Go
2,
Blackbird
1,
Sparrow!
0. Go Mac Bird Sparrow.
I gotta
Sparrow,
be paid
Sparrow.
for taking the camera. Which, wait, that's what we're doing here, though.
You know what? We
Wow,
are
he
here
can
for
juggle.
the
See,
fun.
if I could
For the
juggle, then I
fun.
take that.
It's really fun juggling. I do it all the time.
You only got
You know
two.
what?
You can do three.
Maybe tomorrow all is finished.
I can do 5.
Maybe tomorrow
Nice.
all is finished. So have fun. Have fun.
That's cool. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I will do something fun for you. I love Eden Fractal. And you know why I love Eden Fractal? Because it's the best community in the galaxy of the fractals. I love Eden Fractal. I love Eden Fractal. Because you have people that are playing with the balls. You see, he's not able to play with his balls. That's very good.
Well, also the Alien Worlds Fractal and Genesis Fractal are awesome too, though. I mean, I'm
Dan, can you unveil us why you are playing with your balls? With some balls. Can you unveil us why?
Unveil. Well, the reason why I'm playing with the balls, Patrick, is because it's the end of the meeting and it's been fun, and I was enjoying just hanging out with you guys. I'm inspiring Marco to pick up some sort of ball, and he's spinning it around.
Marco has a ball of steel, you see? He has
Is that a steel
balls.
ball? What are you doing with it? Are you just shaking it or something? Is that something? You're just shaking it like this?
No, it's exercise of
Well,
his
you
finger.
gotta spin it with your. It's got 2 axes, so you gotta break the first axis, give it a certain speed, get up to speed, and then it's.
Oh,
it'll sit on the one.
that
axis
seems.
and slow down.
That seems cool.
It's very cool.
Good for
Okay, I
flexibility.
am also beginning some exercise with the balls. I have to admit that it is a very good exercise to have some balls in your hands.
It's a jarable. You can look it up.
You see, Dan,
you may
he's an
those things
expert.
through the
You
roof.
see, Dan, he's jungling with different balls, and that's a way to be aligned. You see, Dan always very calm, you know. And when he's
doing, I
upset,
think,
he's
is harder.
taking some balls. It is when he's in mode, in playing mode, like now. You see.
You know what I wanted to do? There's a guy who runs marathons juggling. I wanted to at least run 1 mile with him, but I always lose the balls.
Cool. It sounds good. Yeah, you should sometimes. I sometimes do jogs with juggling while you do it. It's a fun thing to do. Have you tried juggling before, Marco? Have you tried it much?
I have tried juggling. I'm very bad at it, and I would like to do 1 mile juggling with the. I'd like to do 1 mile juggling. I saw the guy doing that, and you know I can do the baseball, but they're kind of light, and I lose them. I'm not that good at it. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, you should try it out sometime. I hope that you're able to live that goal and that dream and run part of the marathon while juggling with that person. It's not that. I mean, it takes time to learn. Like it took me like a few weeks of doing it a bit every day to start to get it. There are great tutorials out there, so I'd encourage you to do it. You can also juggle while on planes too. And yeah, it's super fun, like what Patrick was saying before, and also what Perry was saying too. Like it's helpful to get exercise and feel good and move your body around and stuff like that. And that also answers your question of why I do it.
Absolutely.
Because after just standing or sitting for a while, it's nice to move around and stuff.
Yeah, very good. I was too much involved into EOS since 2018, and I was arriving to the conclusion now I have to be careful because I have not paying attention to myself sometimes. So it's that's why I want to be a little bit more focused. And these events on the Saturday, every Saturday, so you are not doing other things in your weekend. So no, sorry. I love Daniel Larimer. I love Dancing Joy. I love you all, but at a point we have also to think about us. You have also to think about us.
Gotta put your health and well-being first, but it's always appreciated whenever you can join this meeting or the Saturday meeting.
Yeah, you know, so I have a wife.
Always welcome, of course, and appreciate it.
So for the moment, I have a wife, not a dog. So I have to pay attention to my wife also. So otherwise, she will be upset. So No, I have a beautiful wife. You know what? Behind each great man is a big woman.
I've heard that before.
Okay.
I think we should probably wrap it up, guys. If it's cool with you.
Okay. So I will wrap up this one and let you play with your balls, Dan. You will be alone. Sorry for you.
Yeah, Dan, press the leave button. We're out of here.
But you know
Okay.
what? The day when I will play two balls with you, that will be very wild. Okay, so I have to go.
Looking forward to that.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
If you,
Let's end on a good note. We won't keep it going. If it's cool with you guys, we'll just like 3, 2, 1, like great meeting or go team
Okay.
or something.
Okay, guys.
And then we'll hit the end button and we'll end it at the same moment. Sound good?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You do
So
the countdown or I do?
let's all do it together. 3,
3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
0. Go fire!
Go fire!
Godspeed.
Go everything! Godspeed! Thanks everybody for joining us for Eden Fractal Meeting 12. Looking forward to much more in the future. Thanks so much, Patrick and Marco. And now we're going across to do other things. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Go Eden Fractal.
Go Eden Fractal. All right, cheers. See ya.
You.